That's so exciting, and it's so amazingly attractive.
Yeah, you're not laughing now, are you?
We are not laughing now. No exciting opening to this stream, because remember a few years, Dan's coming, don't worry, but he knows to let me have a couple of minutes chatting at the beginning. Lovely to see so many people here. Lovely to see some people who don't usually come here. Obviously come for Dan, that's fine. That's why I get him on. Lovely. You know, about 3 years ago when I lived upstairs, my chair broke. I fell back and I got a concussion. And I felt fine afterwards, but then I had to take 4 weeks off work, 4 weeks off streaming. I was vomiting every day and didn't know what was going on. Well, yesterday it happened again, but I think I got away without hitting my head. I mean, I don't feel 100%. But look, I don't know if you can see this. You'll be able to see where I'm sitting on this. Yeah. The old town hall chair, but have a look at this. Can you see that? That is meant to be connected. That and I just look at it. Look at how it sits in its natural position. Hang on. Look at it. Look. That is one dead chair. Now my glasses took a bit of an hiding as well. Can you see the arm of that? That's not meant to be sticking out like that. And I've put them on first thing today, and I was thinking, hang on, I can't read. I can't see. There must be something with the angle of that sort of dodgy arm that's making the lenses not work. And then I've looked on the floor. I can't remember why. I think maybe I thought I saw. Oops, nearly fell off. I thought I saw a lizard or something. And no, one of the glass lenses is on the floor. Picked it up, clicked it back into place. Anyway, so they're a little bit delicate. But apart from that, we're all go. Couple of things. Well, we're not waiting for Dan, by the way. He knows that I like to have a little chat, just a bit of housekeeping for the OG scrubs. New Substack story. I'm going to finish it after this stream. My regular readers, which I can't thank you enough, seems to be most of the scrubs. You know, I'm getting like averaging 11,000 reads. And so some of them are 2,500, some of them are 800, you know, but that's lovely. As a writer, much like a streamer, to be able to do a stream and know I'll likely get 80, 90. And as for the duration of the stream, get a few, like, you know, 400 or 500. But as a writer, to put a short story out and know that I could get a couple of thousand people read it, it's lovely. But you will have noticed, if you've been reading them, that the last 5 or 6 have been very different from the ones I was doing 2 years ago. But this one's a Christmas story, and it's a bit bleak. There is certain things that I can't change. You know, it's not good news, but there is some nice loving moments, and so yeah, look out for that. And you know, I know a lot of you, excuse me, I've got some kind of hair growing off my tongue. People say you do a lot for a lot of people. It means the world to me when you read one of my shorts. Just leave a comment. If you don't like it, tell me why. If you do like it, tell me why. Or if you just, it helps my Substack SEO, and it helps Substack promote me. And it's a piece of piss. Nice one, Chris, appreciated. Bosh. That's all. What else? So covered my potential concussion. Oh man, there's some amazing OGs in here. Honey Monster's in, Scorrie's in, Henry Hill's in, Eleanor's in, Charlie's on the firm. Nice to see you. Suffist is here. Did someone say Dawn Browning? She's going on her desktop for this speech occasion. This internet interloculator. Nice one. Nice to see you, Dawn. Phoenix Reborn. Nice to see you. hang on a minute. Are you the original AI robot? Like with another, did they eat you? Lovely to see you. I mean, whether you are or are not. Dawn Browning's been a member for 29 months. I'm sure. Thank you, Dawn. We all know you've been a member longer than that, but when it all went down the pan, understandably, people unsubscribed. But thanks for your support. Thanks for all the support. While we're there, you can use that. That's Buy Me a Coffee. Put your camera over it. It will give you a link. That will take you to my Substack. That one takes less money for me. I should open that page up because also you get a video reply, but it doesn't happen live because obviously I'm not going to go and reply to a video, to a donation now. But you get a video reply. Entropy is at the top of the chat. Super chat's at the bottom. It's 10 o'clock on a Friday night. Donations are appreciated. What else? Oh, check this out, right? So when my missus buys stuff off the internet and it comes to the house, it's never what's on the photos. And I've been saying to her for about a year now, have you not learnt, darling? You know, I said, I'm in e-commerce. Photos and videos sell products. Like she'll go to grab food and it'll be like this salmon salad. And it looks like the most amazing sort of like a cornucopia of salmon saladness. And when it comes, it's like in a little coleslaw size box with like 2 bits of sashimi and a cucumber. And she's like, oh. And her sister's dying, right? So I typed into the internet, 3 hospitals, Phnom Penh, and I found one, Calmet Hospital. And it said something like, through donations from the Cambodian government and the Japanese government, maybe the Chinese as well. And I'm not slagging this hospital off because I don't know a lot about it. We want to make healthcare something for everyone rather than just those who've got money, because no one's got the money to pay for this fucking heart surgery. So I sent them a message and I told my girlfriend, I said, listen, I've contacted the hospital. She said, what's it called? I said, Calmet. She said, yeah, that's the one that they asked her to leave because we didn't have the money. And I was like, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Why do they say that then? And she said, yeah, you know, when you buy things off the internet. I thought, fair play. Did I see Al in here earlier? Hello, Livy. Nice to see you, Livs. We'll get some more hellos in. We are now waiting for Dan, but that's all right. Hello, Johnny. Good to see you. If I do miss people, I will catch up with you later. Oi, LC350. I bet you're over the moon. Didn't see that coming. So LC350 wanted to get into the fine art of lockpicking. And he just asked me, and he's been very supportive of this channel over the years. So I had a word with some staff, some people in the know, and he emailed me. Said I got something in the post. I'm very, very happy. Got any questions? Ask me. Now watch this. Bang. Hey, birthday boy.
Good afternoon, everyone.
It would be so much better when you showed your face like I dreamt you would. I actually dreamt that that happened.
Why are you dreaming about me?
Because it helps me get erecting. Dan, you went. When I
yeah.
Yeah. How are you? Right. Well, you don't need to dox yourself, but I think 30 was my worst. When I was 30, I was like, this is
In what sense? It's the worst. Why?
Well, it was coming to terms with the fact that middle age was approaching rapidly. You know, your 20s, you're 20. How old are you? 28. It's the same as 22. It feels 28. I'm 28, you know. Even 29, I'm 29, you know, I'm young. 30, I was like, 30, man. I mean, things weren't going too well, so that might have contributed to it. But, I've already got a new Substack subscriber. So how are you feeling about getting a year older?
I'm fine. It doesn't really bother me. Never cared. I had to
you
check.
must have cared when you were like 3 and your mum made you a racing car birthday cake. Come on.
Well, that's taken this to the extremes. Of course, when you're a kid, you care about your birthday. But now, as a 35-year-old, well, 30. See, I even got it wrong. 34-year-old man. I don't give a shit. It's just old news now. I don't feel any different. I look the same as I've looked for the last decade.
Everyone thinks that.
Well, yeah, that's true. Actually, yes. Maybe.
And I was talking to an ex-girlfriend on WhatsApp the other day, and it was my birthday like a week before. But when I told the Scrubs it was my 53rd birthday, they were all like, "No, you're 52." I was like, "No, I'm 53." And I was like, "No," and it turned out I was. So I lost a year. I'd had a birthday, but it was I lost. I was so happy to have lost a year.
But you do get to a point where someone says, "Oh, how old are you?" I don't know. Don't care.
Yeah.
Who cares? Yeah.
At 50, I stopped really. Come on, I got so many friends dying left, right, and centre. I get phone calls. Oh, so and so, he's dead. Okay. And
well, you've got too many friends.
Not anymore. I ain't.
Hey.
But I'm at that age where you can just wake up dead. It happens. People
wake up dead. Yeah, that'd be good.
You know what I mean? It's a terrible thing. Everything is upside down. Dan used to have a very successful channel, but the powers that be decided to say, no, you can't have it anymore. I assume you knew that, and you're just asking whether Dan is doing any online work. Are you doing any online work, Dan?
Not really. I got my Twitter account back, surprisingly, which was nice. I mean, X. Excuse me, Elon. Try and be respectful.
Did that require you had to apply? Did you have to? Is there a
yeah?
process?
So I saw Nick Fuentes get reinstated, and I thought, well, Jesus, surely I'm not worse than that. I mean, if he's getting back on, and I think I showed you the screenshots over WhatsApp. I applied, I got denied. And then I applied again because it said apply again, and I did, and I got denied twice. So I just thought, oh well, that's it then. Nick Fuentes is allowed on. I've appealed my ban twice. They're not going to let me back on for some reason. And then a week later, I get an email. Congratulations, your Twitter account is restored. It's just weird, out of nowhere. They just turned it back on. So that was a surprise. But I tell you what, I mean, I think the novelty's worn off now. I don't really go on it. I haven't logged on that much this week. I mean, you have a few drinks, you go on, you insult a few people, whatever. But I just don't find it that appealing anymore. It's like everyone's on there doomer posting and arguing with each other, and I think I'm just over it. So
I only follow I've got to follow you actually. I only follow about 17 accounts, and they're an odd collection of people actually. I don't know why I've only followed them, but it's great for news, though. You can't deny that. If you want news as it's happening, people on the ground where it's happening, X is the place to be.
That's why I'm keeping it, because
tolerating it.
Well, yes, I've told you this multiple times in the previous streams we've done over the past year, but since my channel got taken down, I've kind of unplugged from that whole news cycle. And in all honesty, I don't really feel like I'm up to date on very many things. So I'm trying to not go full back in and do the whole, oh shit, what's happened today type of thing. But it's good to be informed. And yeah, it's the only place for it. So we'll see what happens. Yes.
Thank you, LC350. There wasn't any need to pay for those. I said you donate regularly anyway, but much appreciated.
You can get a ribeye dinner for a tenner over. Oh, of course you can.
I can get two. Not dinner, but I can get 2 ribeyes for a tenner, easy. Well, 10 English. That's about what, $13.
Long gone are those days here, my friend.
I could probably get 3 ribeye steaks each. I mean, I don't eat a lot anyway. I mean, you wouldn't think it, would you? You'd think I was fucking putting those calories back like nobody's business. But me and the missus will share one of them. But I've got a butcher as one of my subscribers, and he's very angry that I'm not cooking them properly. I just grill it, and he's like,
how are you supposed to do it?
I think he
on
wants
an
me to
open
get
flame.
yeah, I think he wants me to get a griddle pan, which would be lovely. You know, just get it red hot, no fat, just use the fat of the steak. Bosh, flip it on the plate. You know.
Do you like it? Do you like it well done, medium rare? What's your preference?
I have, as tedious as answering that question is, but it is your birthday.
I am interested. I'm genuinely interested in the answer.
It's not you I'm worried about.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot.
I will eat all of them. Sometimes I'll have it like an old leather boot, and sometimes I'll have it virtually. It didn't even hit the pan, you know. And depending how I feel, you know, the girlfriend has slowly learned to enjoy it medium rare, but that can be quite embarrassing. And speaking about butchers, there he is. Fuck it, I'll tell you what though, Dan, it's great to have a butcher on the firm. Thank you, Anglo, because I find it fascinating. You know, we get our food like in little plastic boxes with cling film on them, and you hear a lot of people go, "Oh, do you know that when you cut a cow open, you're up to your knees in blood?" And you know, he answers all these questions, and for some reason that appeals to me, and he's good. He's good for an answer as well. I couldn't do it. Could you work in a butcher's, Dan? Thank you, Anglo.
I think I could. I think you just need to get used to it. I'm not that squeamish with things like that. I'm all right with stuff like that. But no. I think as a meat eater, people always say, well, if you had to kill the animal yourself, I bet you wouldn't eat it. And I think it depends on the circumstance. I think
if you're fucking hungry, you'll eat your own.
Yeah, thing. I mean, because I didn't know. All right, sorry for people in the chat who are probably expecting some kind of dissection of the Reform Party or some bullshit today. But I've been watching Clarkson's Farm a lot, and it's such an eye-opening show about what farming's actually like. And I didn't realize that one cow could feed a village, and it's absolutely insane the amount of meat you get from it. So I think I could do it actually.
Oh, we used to have a subscriber on here, much loved by everyone, you know, like living the American dream, big family, like, you know, there was 13 of them living in his house. He just bought this big bit of land with a lake in it. They just had another baby, and I think the missus was 40 or something, very unexpected. But then had some really bad news. I won't go into the details, but you know, really challenging news. And so we don't see him around here so much anymore. But he used to talk about hunting and all that. He said, you know, you go out hunting and you take a stag down. I haven't got the lingo for this. I'm not a hunter. I fired a catapult at a bird once. But you know, he said, killing it, okay, you've killed it, but then you've got to get that home. There's obviously time constraints. If it's like weather like Cambodia, I imagine, you know, you've got to cut that open, you've got to get all the fur off it, you've got to do bosh, you've got to chop all the bits out that you can eat, you've got to decide whether you're gonna keep that. I mean, traditional English cooking was known as nose to tail. You know, we used to eat tripe. You know, what is that? Stomach lining, isn't it? It looks like a sponge. We used to eat, like, I remember on my mum's Sunday dinner, mum was a terrible cook. Her Sunday dinner was almost bearable, though. Gravy like bathwater, you know, like fucking hell, we have to do this again. But she'd make the gravy out of the chicken's neck, the giblets, she called them, which, you know, give it a better name than that. That's
it doesn't sound very appetizing, though. But.
No, and it was like the neck, the kidneys, some other bits. But my old man would then have the kidneys on his dinner, and because he was my hero and I wanted to be like him as a young boy, he'd go to me and go, "Oh, you want some of these?" And I go, "Yeah," and he'd chop it in half. And I'd eat them, and yeah, lovely. And it was only when I got older and found out what that actually was that I sort of, I don't know about that. And
organ meat is really good for you, apparently.
organ meat, though, you said that.
That's what it's referred to, isn't it? You know, kidneys and liver.
Do you eat it? Offal.
I've not regularly. I do have it. Again, it's, I don't know. I'm not that bothered about it. I think it's fine. But if it's a choice between that or ribeye, it's a ribeye every time. I'm not going to go out of my way to have some kidney. But it is good for you.
What's the one, the classic liver and onions my mother used to make us? But the school dinner liver and onions was great. But again, when I found out, it was like a piss filter, I don't know about that. And you start almost hypnotizing yourself to taste the piss in it. Let me give you an example there. Packer used to work in hospital, not hospital, quite the opposite, in a abattoir. You must have heard of the Asian fruit, the durian.
Yeah.
Some people pronounce it durian, right? And people say it smells like shit and it tastes like shit. It doesn't. It's very strong smelling. It's just imagine just a very strong, when bananas start going off, you can smell them in the air. It's that sort of thing. But when I first had one, I was like, oh, God, yeah. I mean, if you look on the internet, it says and this is not verbatim, but words to the effect of, they certainly mentioned custard, garlic, banana, and meat, like as a description of the sort of, sum of the parts. And it's weird how I convinced myself that it was vulgar. I can see why everyone thinks this smells of shit and is awful. But now I'm having to not eat it because I found out there's 6 grams of fat in every 100 grams. And they really won't let you buy less than a kilo. It's not worth them chopping one up. So, and once I get a 2 kilo durian, it lacerates your hands getting it open. It's the most, it really doesn't want you to eat it, right? Nature was like, no. Well, seriously, they will chop it for you, but the problem with that is you also see them go, and then they're back.
Oh, yeah.
And I've also seen, and I bought this one, she was doing her bit, and she was like, I was like, oh man, keep your eye on that bit. That's going in the bin. I'll take But so that's why I cut it myself. But when they do it, when you get the one you want, they cut a little square out and you put your finger in to make sure it's the right. Because you can get them like apples, which are rank, and then you can get to the other end where they're almost like liquid, where they're rank. So you want a sort of, nice sort of soft. Hard to explain what it's like. In your mouth, it tastes like it feels like velvet and then silk, and it changes. And the Cambodians call it the king of fruits. But when they cut out a tiny little square, it's about a centimetre square, and you dip your finger in it and you push it, and if it ain't right, you go, nah. So they put the sort of spike of skin back on top. And it made me think, I wonder how many I've bought and how many people have stuck their little finger in and given it a little press.
Well, that's good for you. That build up your immune system. Don't worry about that too much.
Is that a true thing? Because
I don't know. I'm not going to test the theory. But speaking of slop, here's my controversial. Well, it won't be controversial with this crowd, but everyone loves getting a Chinese, don't they? Oh, Chinese food, wonderful. Chinese food is slop to me. It is absolute. I've never had Chinese food and had a wonderful day afterwards. It's always killed me. It's always turned my stomach upside down. I don't know what they do to it, but it's not good, and I'll die on that hill. British food, it often gets made fun of by foreigners mainly, and by self-loathing Brits. We all know them. Yeah. But I think, what's wrong with a Sunday roast? Steak and potatoes. What's the matter with that? That's great. I'll have that any day of the week.
Yeah. Beef Wellington. Incredible. With a bit of mash, a bit of gravy.
Shepherd's pie. Why not? Incredible.
Fantastic. I mean, too hot. I mean, in terms, it's not for this climate, but it didn't arrive in this climate. But yeah,
well, now that we've talked about food, Chris, should we talk about the weather and try and keep the audience engaged? I think we're doing a good job.
It is an English stream. It's very kind to see some super chats building up. What I'll do is I'll leave them for a while and do them in batches, so that I better open entropy. Oh, have I? Yeah, I have set up the entropy, so I can keep an eye on that as well. But I'll do in batches so as not to what's the word I'm looking for, Dan? Interrupt the stream, which right. I'm clearly doing now. Right, that's good. Entropy should be working. If blogs turns up, they'll test it for me. Hello, Woodlander. Nice to see you. Hello, Wolfie. Hello, Miss Danger. You all right? Dan.
Yes.
We were talking yesterday. Did you, or the day before? Yes, I can't remember. Probably both. Did you watch Apocalypse Now? Did you give it a go?
No, I didn't have the time, unfortunately. I told you I would watch it again. I mean, I have seen it, but I don't have a fresh memory of it. And I didn't watch Hearts of Darkness either, the documentary about it. But I will. It's on the list.
I sent you a ropey old copy. Can I have a 1 in the chat from anyone who thinks Apocalypse Now is the best film ever made? And while those ones, I'm just gonna repeat that. 1 in the chat for anyone who thinks Apocalypse Now is the best movie ever made. I took my NA sponsor out for dinner with one of his other sponsees to the Dean Street Townhouse. Nice place, Dean Street, probably like 4-star place. Not a Michelin star, but, it's a nice place. And one of them chose mint. It was like a shepherd's pie, really, but it was called something else. My sponsor had, I think he had a porterhouse steak to himself, like 50 quid at the time, probably about 120 now. And I went for sweetmeats, right? No, Sweetbreads. Anglo will probably be able to help me out. Hello, RMF. Nice to see you. Hello, Mousecat. Now, I didn't know what Sweetbreads were. I thought it was going to be, I don't know what I thought it was, but I just thought I'll give it a go. Nice restaurant. I've always done well with the food here. When it comes, it's like, it didn't look great, to be honest with you. It didn't look good. So I've sort of put my fork in one of these sort of, what are those crisps? The famous one used to be like lemon and chili. They're like long things, sort of all wobbly. People would know what they were called. Anyway, that's it, Mousecat. They're like the glands that are here, Dan. They're like chewy, squeaky, disgusting bits of gristle. and I thought, I didn't know that, so I was just thinking, there's a bit of gristle on this, but I won't complain. We're having a nice conversation until my guest went, what did you go for? I went, the Sweetbreads. And of course, the other kid, who was only about 17, just got clean. He went, what's that? He went, that don't look like bread. He was like, that looks like, he said it looks like pig skin or something. And the bloke, my sponsor said, yeah, he said it's a gland from the neck. And I was like, thanks. And I managed about one more, but then it was like, I'll just sort of drink the get my way through the soup base. But even that, anyone in the chat like sweetmeats, let me know. Cron, hello, Cron. Cron reckons it's calf's cheek. It might be. I might have got it wrong.
Don't you think that's beautiful in a weird kind of way? The fact that nothing about the animal goes to waste. There's always something to eat.
That's what I mean about that nose to tail. The French House released a book, Nose to Tail Cooking. The bloke I used to sit next to up at the Arsenal when I had my season ticket, his brother's quite a famous chef, and occasionally I'd be lumbered next to him. Very strange bloke, but he was nose to tail cooking as well. And thank you. We all live in trees, being a a supporter of the Apocalypse Now. Baz is giving it a top 5. Nice one, Bertie Shits Peas loves it. Anglo has made it better than 1, I guess. Rags, if that is your real name, is loving it. Yeah, that's what a quality movie it is. What he said to me, he said, listen, if you're gonna kill an animal for food, he said the least you can do is eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I kind of get that. And he said he said ironically, and again, Anglo's probably been working all day. He doesn't want to be answering butcher questions now. But he said to me, ironically, most of the stuff that the modern consumer won't consume is the stuff that's the highest nutritional value,
Yeah, well, everything's so sanitized now, people don't even know where the food comes from. And even though we like to think of ourselves as above the animals and separate from them, and we're way more advanced, and we are, but I think there's something to be said about the nitty-gritty act of slicing an animal up and eating literally everything about it. Because how do you think humans survived? That's what you do. And like I said, to bring it back to Clarkson's farm, which I wholly recommend to everybody, the fact that one animal can literally feed someone for a year is incredible to me. And I should have known that before, but for some reason I didn't. And I don't know why I was so wowed by that fact, but I was. And whenever you hear Joe Rogan, for example, talking about how he hunts elk and then he just keeps it in a freezer for a year, he's got meat for the entire year.
That's it. That's the bit I forgot.
What could be wrong about that? I mean, that's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, imagine what an elk weighs or a bison or something. It's a ton of meat. You could probably cut a steak off the back of a cow and it would live.
Right, yeah.
It's next to nothing. The ones out here, though, we've been talking about this on this channel recently. The ones out here, they look starved. You can see their ribs. You can see there's a big bump just behind their neck. But they're not starved. They're standing in fields of green grass. I don't know. We haven't quite established whether it's a breed thing or a chemical thing or selectively bred cattle in like Europe. But yeah,
grass-fed is a trend that's taken off now. If you go to any mainstream supermarket, I'm a little supremacist in the UK. I think it's the best for meat, other than a butcher, of course. If you to our supermarkets, there's a whole grass-fed beef range now,
and corn-fed. That's the thing I noticed.
Yeah, but they advertise the grass-fed stuff, and I think it's because of the popularity of things online like keto or the carnivore diet. All these things that get a lot of hits. The grass-fed is like the ultimate beef. You don't want to have any other beef other than grass-fed, and it's a huge industry. It's crazy.
We've got a few carnivores on the firm here. Pags is one. Packer's one. Pags hasn't eaten anything but steak for 5 years. And he came on to chat and he was like, no scurvy. I haven't had any fruit, and Packer, who's usually my sort of co-host, he's been on it. I don't know now, maybe about a year. He'll confirm in the chat he's here. And he said, I just feel so much better eating. I'm a carnivore. That's it.
And it's been popularized. It's been popularized by the likes of Jordan Peterson and especially his daughter. I don't know if you've ever heard them talk about it. She, according to her, she had a lot of new. What did she have? All these issues, arthritis, things like that, and she only eats steak. That's it, steak and water. And apparently, again, according to her, it's fixed her right up. So, look, I don't know. I've never tried it myself. I mean, I've gone a week or two just eating meat and fat, but eggs, But I don't know. I don't have any chronic illnesses that I need to clear up, so I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. But who knows? People in the chat can attest.
It's interesting, is that I mean, when I'm bulking up, I'm getting as much protein in me as I can. I'll just open a tin of tuna, mix it with half a tin of sweet corn, put some mayo in it, and just sort of swallow it. It's not eating. It's not a pleasure. It's just protein, and then like for supper, I'll have like 6 eggs scrambled. That's it. It's like, it's not a pleasure, but you know, I'm not putting all that effort at my age into lifting heavy weights and not having the protein to repair the muscle. You know, it's ridiculous. So there you go. Are you back in the gym, Dan? I knew you were smashing it, and then you've kind of
not really.
That's an amazing no.
I'm not going to lie to you, Chris. It's pretty bad at the minute. But there is a new gym opening right next to my house very soon, so I'll join that one because it's going to be 24 hours a day, and that's great. What you want to be doing is working out at 3 a.m. That's perfect.
Well, that's when I do. I usually do it after a stream. I've got a little setup over there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. You can see the bench there. There's a mat underneath. There's a kettlebell. There's a standard bar across the top, and a couple of dumbbells. It's lovely. It's lovely just being able to, you know, just go right. I'll pedal back a bit. I watched this bird, and she said on this video, she said, "Look, I'm going to give you some life-changing advice." Why am I so low? It's making me feel really weird. I'm like this. Hello, Daniel. How are you? She said, listen. She said humans don't want to do anything. She said, look at a pride of lions. What do? They fuck, they eat, they sleep. Most animals do that. Because humans became conscious, and then they became conscious that they were conscious, they realized that they are going to die. So they invented culture to sort of distract them from the inevitable shedding of this mortal coil.
Yes.
And and a lot of French post-structural thought is that culture exists to distract you from the reality of the human condition. You're on your way out. From the moment you're born, you're going downhill. And
I do like this subject because I was thinking about this the other day, but continue and then I'll try.
Yeah, I'm totally sold on it, you know. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a because we're just going into monsoon season, the air's getting wetter and more humid, should I say. Everyone's got these little coughs. But I'm not going to mute myself every time I cough unless it's a proper Simon Webb oyster shot. Then I'll do it. Well, hang on, speak to the devil. Oh, I'm sorry about that, people. I was on my kibbutz in Israel at the time. Many people who follow me seem to think I'm on the right. Right.
Who was that an impression of?
Oh, that's so sad. Simon Webb.
Who's Simon Webb?
History debunked.
Oh, right. Sorry.
You're right. I'll let you off for this one.
I apologize.
There you go. Get a griddle pan. Right, I'll just do these and we'll get back to that because they do build up a bit. Thank you, LC350. Thank you, Anglo. Thank you, Dawn Browning. Lovely to see you here, Dawn. I can't imagine what the time is there.
I will stress to everyone, I'm not seeing a penny of this, even though it is my birthday.
No.
There you go.
What Daniel said to me before the stream was, he said, every donation you receive, I'll consider a present to me. And I said, yeah, okay, I'm good with that. So why he's changed his mind now midstream has made me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but we'll crack on.
I've transcended above the fiat system, Chris. It's all worth it. I don't care.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking about it all week. When you say transcended above the fiat system, you mean gambling on shit coins.
The endless casino that never closes, yes.
It's been driving me mad. Anyway, I'll try and keep this. Nice one, Dawn. That's a good comment, actually. Know your butcher and help your butcher. Makes sense. That's what communities used to do. When you've all got skin in the game, there's a bit of to and fro. You can tell your butcher what you want. I told years ago when I had a staff, and it was a long-legged, big old staff, a fucking monster, a beautiful dog. He was proper out of hand, and we got a trainer from that dog whisperers school. Right, we thought, oh, that's got to be the best one. He's got a telly show. First thing he done was come in the house, and he went, "Is that his food?" And we were like, "Yeah," and it was that just like biscuits, like dry food. We had a big sort of. He said, look at your dog. He said, look at it. He said, it's a fighting dog. He said, and you're giving it biscuits. He said, give it raw mincemeat. Yeah. That's it. He said a couple of lumps a day. And he said, where did you get that from? He said, go to your butcher. He said, and tell him it's for your dog, because he's not going to give you the best cuts, but it's fucking great for your dog. Now, my dog used to graze, and dogs are bored. Dogs are so bored. That's why they love it when anything happens. You know, if the doorbell rings, they go, ah! Because it's better than nothing. You know, you try and sit there doing nothing. 20 minutes, you're like, nah, I've got to do something. Some dogs sit there for 5 hours while their owners are at work, just with nothing to do.
And it's in dog years as well, so it's even worse for them.
Dog hours would have been better. I'll take it. But he said, the least you can do is give your dog something to look forward to twice a day is food, right? So we go to the butcher and he says, all right. He said, it's going to take me a few days to get that prepped. How much do you want? Blah, blah, blah. We said, well, we don't know yet. We'll work it out. And like Dawn says, help your butcher and blah, blah, blah. And he worked with us. And after a couple of weeks, we knew exactly how much we wanted. And we'd only have to go up there once a week. It would go in the fridge. And to have a bull terrier grazing is just wrong. It shouldn't go up to the bowl, like sniff it and be like, oh, fucking hell, what is dried meat, and then walk away and just out of hunger go. When we put him on that fresh minced meat, he'd go up to it, 2-3 mouthfuls gone. He'd walk in the front room with like all red round his snout. And his behaviour improved like exponentially over the next few weeks.
What breed is it? This sounds like a Staffy or something.
It's a Staffordshire Bull
Terrier.
Terrier.
We when I was younger, we had a Staffy as well, and we did the same thing, just raw mince. He loved it.
There you go. Amazing.
He was a tank. He was a fucking tank. This dog. He was tiny. He was small for a Staffy, but
so
he could pull it over.
You had one with the front legs; they're sort of slightly curled.
A little bit, yeah. He's a little smaller, but he was strong. He could pull you over. I think my granddad at the time. Now, my granddad he wasn't even in his 70s. I think he was 68, 69. He was walking him one day, and the dog just pulled him over, and he never recovered from that fall. Honestly, he died about 6 years later, and I think that had a lot to do with it. He just couldn't move around anymore. He broke his leg and stuff. It was insane, but yeah, those dogs, they just need raw meat because they need the power in them. It is a wild animal, kind of. It's domesticated, but it is still a wild animal, let's be honest.
My staff could jump about 6 foot from sitting. So, and I trained him on this with like treats. I'd get him under a tree, and where we used to walk him, I'd get him under a tree, and I'd be like, no, and they'd be looking up, and I'd be like, no. And like shaking the little treat bag, which was just balls of mince. That's all he wanted.
Sure.
And then I'd go on, and I'd get the mince out, and they'd fly up from sitting. He wasn't even in any weird sort of superhero dog position, and they'd just fly up. And as he went up, his body almost like when salmon jumping over when they're going upstream, his body would be like wobbling, and then get his mouth onto a branch and just rag it, until it snapped off and he come down with it. And then I'd give him a bit of meat. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I love it. Well, how did we get onto this? I can't remember how we got onto this conversation. You were about to talk about people not accepting their own mortality and how culture is a distraction for death. And then we got on to feeding dogs raw meat.
It's a long way back. Carnivorous diets. You did say to me, let's not have a subject. You said, let's just freestyle it. So,
of course. I mean, yes. And I understand a lot of people who might have seen my Twitter get reinstated and they're here for the first time in a few years. They're expecting me to just go on and on about the upcoming election and what should we do?
Oh,
And
listen to it.
the truth is, there's nothing more boring than that. I'd rather talk about dog food. Literally.
We rarely talk about politics on this channel now. We talk a lot about AI, obviously, because it's taken over the world. You know that. Me and you talk about it.
Yeah.
Well,
We did a stream about that about a year ago. We just covered everything. So
we did, didn't we? But I think anything worth saying politically now, you can't get away with on YouTube. So unless I'm going to repeat what I spent years talking about a few years ago, and there's other people doing it now. I've got a friend, right, and he'd done a little promo for my business, like an influencer. Oh, have you ever thought about lockpicking? Blah blah blah. And I left it a long time because it's been a very demanding year for me for various reasons. I'm not complaining, that's life. But I thought, right, let's get this video made and edited. And I thought I might as well check with him. It's been so long, check with whether he wants, he's still up for it. So I wrote to him and I said, hello, mate, your channel's going really well. And, he's talking about the things that the likes of you and me talked about, 5-6 years ago. And he said, why don't we have a little catch up? He said, because I'm seen as representing the right and it might affect your business. And, I didn't feel, what? You didn't know that I used to do that? I didn't feel any of that, but it's like, wow, it's weird that it's strange to think that, I doubt he's ever heard of you. Do you know what I mean? And you were like probably the biggest channel of that whole.
Well, here's the interesting thing about that, and I know what you're saying. It sounds so egotistical to say, well, you've never heard of me, really? But there is this thing where people are just concerned with their own lives and what is going on in their lives at that very moment in time. And I've had a very similar experience to you where people have come up to me who I've never spoken about politics to them in my life. And then they start spouting off. It almost sounds like something I used to say myself in a video. And I'm like, Jesus, if only you and I connected 5 or 6 years ago. But the truth about that is 5 or 6 years ago, they weren't in that place. Yeah. They didn't have those thoughts and opinions. And the internet is generally about a decade ahead of general discourse in normie land, which is annoying and frustrating, but at least you can see a bit of progress. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good and all that.
It's also good that other people are picking up the mantle because, we've made our sacrifices. My mother had, I know what you went through. My mother had people ringing her going, your son's grooming teenage Nazis. It's in the Times. I was like, oh, fucking hell, man. But one thing I want to say, and I need to say because it's unfair, he wasn't giving it the big one. He said, his intentions were good. He said, I wouldn't want it to affect your business negatively. So his intentions were good. But I was thinking, mate, when Hope Not Hate described me as a bare-chested far-right YouTuber operating from his base in Cambodia.
That's such a cooler description of what reality is. I wish it was like that. Phoenix Reborn 60 in the chat. While we're on this subject, we may as well entertain it for a bit, I think.
Dan, you can drive this boat as much as me. This is your birthday stream. You tell me what to do. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, you only turn 34 once. Okay, so let's get into it. Any thoughts on the growing zero seats momentum, academic agents idea, and the slow rightward shift in the UK with Reform's popularity? I have to say, I think the Conservative Party are going to get completely wiped out, and not long before time. The problem is the Labour Party is exactly the same. So, we still have a uniparty system. The Reform thing, I'll be honest with you, Chris, right? I've got a lot of problems with Farage. I was watching his press conference earlier today, and he just can't help himself when he's asked about the far right. And he says, I've done more than any other politician to destroy the far right in the UK. I destroyed the British National Party and all this. And I'm like, oh my, come on, really? You're still trying to appease that crowd. However, he's charismatic. He's injected a bit of energy into what would otherwise have been the most apathetic election in British history. I would have assumed. And don't let perfect be the enemy of decent, I suppose.
Yeah.
I might just vote for reform, even though they're not going to win in my area. Labour always wins. I don't have a voice here, but it's something, isn't it? And I know I'm grasping at straws a little bit, but it is something. But the 0 seats thing from AA, I think, has a lot of legs.
I'm looking for the video. I saw the video. They'd used 11 labs to do Rishi Sunak's voice, and it's a very funny little video. Where is it? I watched it earlier. I was hoping to get it done while. Does anyone know what History Bros Twitter handle is? Because he retweeted it, and it's very funny. Actually, it made me laugh. I'm looking in the chat. Anyone know History Bro? It's something like Bo Gade or something, but I didn't find him there. Or if anyone's got a link to the video, it's an AI Rishi Sunak voice talking over. Oh damn! Why can't I find it?
While you're trying to find it, can people in the chat just entertain me for a minute? Are you going to bother voting in this election, or you're going to stay in bed? Because I've always got this hugely apathetic feeling.
You voting or staying in bed?
Yeah, I mean, that's what else is there? That's the way it is. But I thought this was going to be the most apathetic election in history, and then Farage threw his hat in. And like I said, I've got several problems with Farage, and I think a lot of people do. But it has kind of spiced things up a little bit, and I'm just wondering if people are even going to bother, because I don't believe in the political system either. But I might just do it to do it. And to get out the house. I'm just looking for excuses to get out. So
it's all very well smashing the Tories, and I've got no time for them at all. Oh, Johnny, is that H1 story, bro, or is that just a capital I by accident? I imagine it's that.
Why are you trying to find him again? What's the point?
Oh no, I found it. Nice, good call, Johnny, because he retweeted this video earlier.
I'm so sorry. Someone's at my door. Give me 2 seconds.
No worries. I found it anyway. All right, there you go. Shush. Right, I'll wait till Dan's back for the super chats. Thank you, people. Very generous. Times are hard in Bodia at the moment. Yes, Scory, I think so. What I think at the moment is the right, all the different rights should say, look, we've probably got more in common than we've got out of common. Maybe that's not true. But let's target the left. Put our differences aside. Let's target the left. Do that, destroy the left, and then the right can fight it out amongst themselves. Then you'd have right-wing parties standing for election. Get the left, the woke left. We're in the middle of a communist revolution. The West is, without a doubt. And get that off the table. Get their massive influence on the media, on the judiciary, on the old bill, on... Did I say media? On education. Get that out the way first, and then you can have your little squabbles between yourself. But the sort of atomization of right wingers is just, it just feels like it's never gonna. I don't know, mate. Things are changing, aren't they? Things really are changing. Seeing normal people protesting. And I think it's safe to say most people have got their public and their private view, when you get them in a group or on telly and, I think it's important that we let people in trouble, come into our country and, but when they're at home and it's just them, their husband and their kids, they're like, fuck these people, man. They've wrecked our country. And I think the large majority of British people think like that. because why wouldn't you? It just doesn't make sense.
I'm back.
Yeah. Right. So let me just do these super chats, Dan, so that because they might be contextual and they'll be miles away. VC's been on the phone for 24 months. Another lie. He's been here a lot longer than that. Annie drops an it and sent a nice one, VC. Dawn Browning. I'm a carny rabbit. I don't know what that means, but you eat loads of vegetables, though, don't you? I've seen you grow them. I've seen you farming them. Dawn and her fella have got an amazing sort of small holding. I'm so jealous. Out in Australia, like properly functioning, sort of, they grow their own food. They've got livestock and stuff. Happy birthday, Dan, she says. Nice one, Dawn. Anglo drops a lady in. Get a griddle pan, heathen. Yeah, I will. But out here, that ain't easy. It really isn't easy. You can get something that looks like one, but 3 weeks into using it, it just sort of it can't cope with heat, which is weird for a pan. But I'm with you. Dawn Browning, 20 Australian dollars. Yup, Dan was a trailblazer. Most of us wouldn't be here right now. Thank you and happy birthday. Yeah, without a doubt. I'm not calling out that bloke. He was just trying to help me, but it's weird that he doesn't know the shit that we all went through, the sacrifices we all made, the friends we lost, the families that hated us. And, you know, they think they're doing it for the first time. You can't be a man, you're a woman. Yeah.
You know when you see an old friend and they start telling you about, oh, I've started watching Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? Okay. Come back in 5 years, please. Just fucking
Yeah. Well, people who stop talking to me, I had a mate who said to me, some of the things you've been saying on Twitter, and it was Twitter back then, he went, have really upset people I care about. And I knew what they were talking about because they were married to someone from a ethnic minority. And I was like,
so is Hugh. Didn't stop him.
Well, so am I. That's the weird thing. And it's sort of like, well, what? And then it's like, come on, I don't want to fucking argue it, but me and you, we ain't friends if you're going to carry on. I'm like, whoa, hang on. We've been mates for like 40 years and you're going to drop it out. All I'm saying is tell me what I said that offended them. And I know before they even tell me, I'm just not going along with the woke orthodoxy. That's it. I'm not up for this or that or this or that. And they won't argue it because they haven't got a position. And I just go, yeah, I've lost another friend. But 5 years later, like you say, hey, Chris, did you know that London's 40% white? I'm like, yeah. Did you know it's going to be about 20% in 30 years? Yeah.
I'm expecting a few phone calls from a few old friends in the next couple of years with that type of message. But I find it really funny because, like what you were saying earlier about how culture exists and certainly politics does to distract you from your own mortality and the fact that you're going to die at some point, could be any time. I just have a maybe a bit of a blasé attitude to fallings out and arguments now. And I just don't really, it doesn't affect me anymore. Okay, so you're annoyed that I said this. All right, fine. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fine. It doesn't bother me anymore.
While we're on that, on the off chance that Lee James is watching this, I'd like to apologise for banning you the other night. I shouldn't have streamed. I wasn't in the right mental space to stream, and I should know when I'm not. I've been doing it long enough, and you've been unbanned, but you might not want to come back anyway. But you said something pretty brutal when my girlfriend's sister's dying, but nonetheless, I don't ban people. We all make mistakes. 42 says, until our people come to understand that the political system works 365 days a year and stop ignoring it for 1,459 days and voting once for 4 years, expecting that to work, we are beyond lost. Yeah, that's a good call. And as far as I can see, its main function is to put public money into private pockets. And it's a very efficient machine at doing it.
That's some impressive mathematics there as well, by the way, 42. Well done.
He's probably been
you
working
counted the days.
He's going to come on here. 42 lives. He's an Ulster British. That's what he is.
I know who 42 is. I've seen you talk to him. He's well into the men's rights stuff, isn't he?
Yeah. Not so much anymore because, like you, he put a lot of time and effort into it back in the day, and he's now putting.
Well, I think the last time you and I spoke, he might have still been into it a little bit. But
he's going to come on, and we're going to talk about the origins of what we'll call the Troubles in Ireland / Northern Ireland. But 42, I don't know if you've heard, I'm going to have to find someone from the other side to not on the same stream. But
all right, okay, fine.
But
that would be explosive. Pardon the pun.
Well, not really, but because we have got someone here who is from the other side, and they've both been in the chat together, and me and Packer sit there in the private chat going, "Oh fucking hell!" I'm totally ignorant and not knowing what to say. But I'm gonna have to find someone who will give. History is your interpretation of documents. So I have to find someone who can, but his 42 is going to take us back to right when it started. Me and 42 have done streams about his time in Northern Ireland and what went on as he grew up and how it all was all working. I think, I know actually there's a lot more that he can't talk about, which really gets me going. But I'm going to have to get someone on to talk about the other version. But this next one is going to be the origins of the situation. Now, I know that's a bit weird because, time has been going on since it began.
I'm very ignorant about the whole island thing. I don't know.
Same here. And that's why I clearly admitted it. And that's why I got him on. And that's why he came on the other day and we decided to do a talk about, the sort of the initial kind of corruption.
All I can say about this is whenever I did any kind of content back in the day that talked about Ireland, I would always get a shit ton of Irish people in the comments saying, "Yeah, I'd rather have Africans than British people." Clearly from a certain persuasion, but Ireland these days is going through a bit of an awakening.
Yeah,
which is quite intriguing to an outsider.
Well, it's insane that let's not get into that.
Yeah, I almost regret saying it. I don't know.
I haven't got enough. I don't know enough about it. That's why I'll stick to the expert. Scory's been a member for 30 months. Again, it's been a lot more than that. Nice to see you, Scory. Lovely to see 173 people in. Really nice. What I do, I think if I've missed any of those super chats, let me know and I'll go over them. Dan, we were talking yesterday, and just hello, Nate Spurs. How are you, son? I assume you're talking about the political parties, not the Northern Irish
or us.
Yeah. When you put this stream up on your Twitter, one bloke said, "I don't like Dangerfield. It gives me the creeps, but happy birthday."
Oh, that's nice of him. I haven't looked at the replies. I scheduled it yesterday, and I haven't looked today.
It's so bothering to write it. Wolfie thinks there isn't a left and a right. Give me some more info on that, Wolfie. Tell me why there isn't, because you may well be right.
If he means in a party political sense in this country, then yeah, he's right, because it's a uniparty.
No, I wasn't talking about it like that. I was clear to say the woke left. I think if the right, and I'm not talking about the Tories, of course, but if the right could get together and get rid of I think you're on someone rang the bell when I was talking about this, and could get rid of the massive power that the woke left is having on our society, on the police, on the judiciary, on education, on everything, we'll be in a better position to start actually making positive change. Because at the moment they're too powerful. They've done the long march. They run everything. They're educating our kids, and as soon as they're educating your kids, you're losing generationally. And anyway,
there is a pushback to that type of thing, mainly in pop culture. So I don't know if you watch movie YouTube at all. I think we've discussed this before, but apparently there's a new Star Wars show out. I haven't seen it. I just can't. I can't.
What's it called? The Adjacent or something, isn't it?
The Acolyte. And I've seen clips, and I'm not going to watch it, clearly, but the pushback has been immense. And channels that have no audiences are trashing this thing and getting millions of views. That's how entrenched this is. This is how current it is. And I think that pop culture thing, that's where the fight back is easier to start.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
And you know, I watch The Critical Drinker every now and then, and he'll never come out and just say it, but he'll lead his millions of followers down the right direction. You know what I mean? So when you say movie tube or film tube, you're talking about Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker, all that crowd, yeah? That crowd. There's a lot of them now. They grow all the time. These bad shows create YouTube careers. It's incredible. They really do.
I think, you know, I've been saying recently, if my business were to go down the pan, I'll probably do a commercial YouTube channel. That would be my first point of, like, right, am I going to pay to live? And it would probably be films, because it's, you know, they're popular. You know, they're popular thing. And I've seen so many channels of not very good analysis. I mean, Critical Drinker, I think, is a great channel, actually. But they all annoy me because they tell you the problems, but there's never any solution suggested. And okay, they're looking after their job, but that is a little bit of a problem. But then that's quite optimistic what you said. If you think that it's sort of, you know, pushing people in the right direction, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh.
I think they fulfill a role that is important. Look, if it's the reason why I couldn't do content like that, because I would just go too far and it wouldn't work and I'd get banned. Oh, this is rude, by the way.
Dan, my missus is on the phone. I'm going to mute it. You're going to have to hold the stream for a minute.
Okay, fair enough. Yes. So what was I saying? Yeah, the political cultural awakening, Critical Drinker. They'll go only so far, and hello. It's my birthday. Yes, and yes, he's saying, Christ, I can't do two things at once. I can't follow my thread that I was talking about and look at this on my screen. It's just not. Yeah, goodbye. Let's just get back to a conversation. I think I should just pour myself a drink. I've already been to the bar today, everyone. Morgoth has the best reviews. Yes, he does. Yeah.
Dan, you said I can't do two things at once. Trying to talk to her and listening to you not manage to do it was hilarious.
Because the problem is, I was trying to lip read you, and I'm like, what the fuck? I can't. Yeah. Sorry, what was I even saying? I can't remember now.
Film tube. They
right,
don't,
yes.
They don't make suggestions for. So there's no solutions, but you suggested that they pushed people, not push, but you know, when the Critical Drinker started talking about the message,
mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's positive, but anyway,
it only goes so far. That's the point, and it only can go so far in their world, because look, I mean, someone like the Critical Drinker, he's a multimillionaire because of his content, and it pays the bills. That whole anti-woke movement is an industry in and of itself, And if you ever watch, I don't recommend this, but if you ever watch Piers Morgan's show on YouTube now, it's almost as if his entire platform, his entire personality is, what's the woke thing I can criticize today?
Yeah.
And it's just constant over and over again. And it's just a reimagining of when I'm not criticizing Sargon for this, by the way, but when he would talk about the SJWs and Anita Sarkeesian feminism in video game, it's the same thing. It's just got a different name. It's slightly more prominent. People feel braver confronting it now. Blue-haired feminists, no one gives a shit about them anymore. It's evolved a little bit, but it is an industry, and you can make a lot of money tapping into that, which is what all these people are doing. Which is
a bit of that might be the problem, because it's almost like the myth of the guitarist who sold his soul to be able to play, went to the crossroads, because the critical drinker, right, I'm going to talk about films. You can't talk about films without talking about politics, because you're talking about Hollywood, you're talking about culture, you're talking about messaging, signaling. So, but here's a load of money for your advertising revenue. Here's a load of money for your super chats. So,
of course.
Okay, so I'm sort of calling them out. I'm not going to say that, though, because they're giving me all this money. So, it's almost like, it's almost you've kind of sold your soul. I don't know how you got banned, and Mark Dice, and I like Mark Dice. I really like Mark Dice. How does his channel stay alive? I don't get it. He doesn't really hold back.
I don't watch him. I've never watched him. Hugh was a big fan, I remember, but I can't say that I understand what he does or what his talking points are.
Well, he talks about American politics and tends to be American party politics as well. But his books are good as well, and they'll say buy the book, because I can't say this stuff on YouTube, but I wouldn't say that your stuff was any more or less. Maybe you were just more aligned to nationalism, which is something they don't want. That'll be banned in a few years. It'll be illegal to be a nationalist.
I think it's because I explicitly called myself a nationalist, and I never shied away from that. And it wasn't just me; it was everyone. Everyone who said they were a straight up nationalist were yeeted from the platform.
Yeah. And I made a video. This is not a nationalist channel. Laura Towler unfollowed me on Telegram, which I sort of understand. Her husband's currently in prison. And did you hear? So he got 2 years.
He can't see his kids now, right? That's
well, they managed to. Well, if someone in the chat can update me on this, the last I heard, reading Laura's Telegram, because I think it's fucking shocking what's happened there. There was a bloke who, I don't want to say the R word because it flags YouTube like a fucking fruit machine, but some woman, but he got nothing because he wasn't aware of different cultural practices. Yet Sam Malia didn't get locked up for what he said on the stickers. It's something really weird. Like, he got locked up for inciting violence or something bizarre. But then, just out of the blue, Laura can't take the kids to the prison to see their father. One of the kids is like 6 months old or something. Again, correct me in the chat. I don't know the exact details, but very young. The other one's only like 2. But then they said Laura can't talk to him about their children. Now, they've said that it was because he is and again, these aren't the exact words, but they said, he is a dangerous man with affiliations to Hitler and Nazis. Now, this is worrying. I mean, Laura's strong as an ox. So I've got so much respect for that woman. you know, she's just been doing this and taking, you know, imagine having 2 young kids and having your husband taken away, knowing that there are people out there to get you, and now you haven't got a man in the house.
And for what we can see, what is the crime? It's a thought crime, essentially, is what it is.
And there's plenty of other people who do much worse, damaging crimes where there are victims who don't even get held on bail. Now, what worries me about that, I think they turned it round that she can now talk to him in visits about the children, because there was some internet pushback, which is a good thing. That's good to know. She can show him photos. But Mike says Hitler's almost certainly dead now. Exactly.
You wouldn't know it. Apparently not.
But there you go. Convicted for intent, which they couldn't prove. Which they didn't and couldn't prove. But here's something that concerns me. If they're saying that now, what are they going to say when he comes out of prison? You can't engage with your own kids because you might have a dangerous political influence on them. Well, does that change when you come out of prison? Surely that goes up because you're now their father. So are they even going to let him see him, or are those kids going off with social services? It's fucking terrible.
How long is his sentence?
Miss Danger says she seems to dislike you. Have you actually seen that? I mean, she unfollowed me after that, and I can understand why she did. But you know, I'd done my time. I made my sacrifices.
Is this Laura she's referring to?
Yeah, I mean, I still really rate Laura, so you know. It's a shame. It's a shame that she doesn't like me, but that's all right. 2 years.
Now, is he going to spend all of those 2 years inside, or is he going to get out and serve the rest suspended?
I think in England, if you get more than 4, you do half of it. But if you get less than 4, you do the lot. Someone else might be able to confirm or unconfirm that.
Wait, someone says Big Sam won't get early release parole unless he shows contrition for his so-called. Oh, so they want him to do a whole I used to be in the far right, but now I see the error of my ways type of thing. Is that the condition? Well, he's never going to do that, is he? It's psychological warfare from the state. This is what this is. It's a disgrace. But the most frustrating thing about it is how do you even confront it? What do you do about it? How can you fight against this? It seems like they targeted him and they were like, we're going to make an example out of him.
Yeah.
And on the most flimsy charges, they managed to get him.
Well, it's the same as what's happening in America at the moment with Trump. I mean, regardless what you think about Trump, the things they're doing, they're changing laws, they're fucking around with the Constitution, they're using political activism against their opponents, and it's like, you know, you can't win. They're trying to put him in prison. They just keep trying. Trump's just got charged with something and no one knows what the crime is. That's actually happened. So I think it's kind of similar to that. You know,
lawfare. It's lawfare. Someone said that's a good term.
That's it. That's what
I have to admit, I'm completely detached from the Trump thing. I don't know anything about it. Whenever, because Trump's always in the news for something, and it's always just look at how bad he is. I've disengaged from the Trump campaign. I'm not sure that he's going to win. Put it this way: if people really think the last election was rigged, then why wouldn't this one be?
Right, but I think the idea is they're going to make sure that those polling stations, there'll be volunteers staying there 24/7.
Well, I don't know. I mean, can you imagine the reaction the next day after the election and Biden wins again? I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, surely that's not going to happen. He's a walking corpse," but it could very well happen. I think we all agree that democracy is a bit of a sham, and I'm being kind with that. In America, look, there's all types of forces at play. I don't think people can just bank on Trump winning. And even if he does, I mean, come on. I mean, does it really matter at the end of the day? I think the deep state is a real thing. Is he going to clean it out? It's a good campaign line, but is it actually going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what campaigns do, don't they? The Italian bird give it a lot of that and then got in and pulled back. But I get that they have to do that. I think there's a good chance of Le Pen winning in France next time round. I can't see Macron winning again.
I think Macron will. I think he'll win again.
Well, there's systems developed to not let radicals, isn't it? So like I think last time Le Pen won the first round, but then the second round, all of the opponents, it's all of them versus her supporters. But I think French polling is showing that she's likely to win. So,
well, I think
there is a global swing to the right happening. I think without
yes, I think there is. Yeah, I think you can sense it when you interact with people online and go out into the world. You can. I'm hearing people again. If I'm in a Wetherspoons, my favorite place in the world, if I overhear a conversation from a table, they'll all be boomers, but they'll all be speaking reformist talking points, for example, which is better than nothing, especially up here when everyone is a Labour supporter. Apparently, when you walk down the street, you can't find someone who votes anything other than Labour. So you hear it on the streets. In Europe, it's a little bit different. Geert Wilders, for example, in the Netherlands, now, for all of his faults, and there are many, believe me, when I started my channel, he was a fringe actor. And I remember making a video about him in early 2017. Like, look at this guy. Look at what he's saying. I would never have imagined that he would actually get elected to be in that position. Now, again, I have a lot of problems with him and all of these types of people for reasons that I won't go into. But is it progress? It is, isn't it? Because it reflects the mood of the people more than anything else.
Yeah, and I think you have to understand that you can't have a person or a party that you're going to agree with 100%. That that's not ever going to happen. You're just going to have someone out of the selection that is best for your people's interests. I think that's, Brexit wasn't good for my business interests, but I still supported it,
Yeah, the Woodlander says he actually got elected but can't do anything.
Yeah,
and that's the trap, isn't it? So you can say all the right things to your base, and then when you get in the position, much like Giorgia Meloni in Italy, are they handcuffed, or were they never going to do anything in the first place?
I think, like you say, it sends a message. It sends a message to the people. It sends a message, like you say, it's almost like a barometer of the inhabitants of whatever area we're talking about.
It reflects the population's mood, of course, but then again, is it just a pressure release valve to get people to? Oh, I'm so angry. I'm going to vote for this person. And then they get in and everyone breathes a sigh. Oh, yes, we did it. We won. And then nothing really happens.
No, because I think what you start doing is paving the way for other parties afterwards. I mean, look at the AfD in Germany. And Germany is the one they've been so guilt-ridden and, and the AfD are making massive moves in Germany. And, okay, so they might not ever end up in government, but younger people coming up, other people coming up, it's like it is worth fighting, because look what the AfD are doing. It might not be the time now, but in in 20 years it might be our time. I think if Trump doesn't win this next election, I think you'll be looking at a Democrat government for 20, 30 years, or until the country just becomes a third world hellhole, and whichever's sooner. Because they're bringing in voters. That's it. Come to America, vote Democrats. We'll give you free stuff. If the other people get in, you're going to lose your free stuff, and they're going to send you home. And what is it? I think I think John Kennedy the other day said they reckon it might be as high as 15 million people have walked over that southern border this year. And the Mexicans are emptying out their mental asylums, their prisons. Go on. Just keep going up there that way, and just send them to America. Busloads of Chinese come through Mexico into America. It's like, the Chinese CCP just like, right, get a load of our top people, send them to Mexico and get them into America to do what?
Yes.
But why wouldn't you? If there was a gaping hole in the Chinese border, of course America would send loads of special ops and spies in there. Of course they would. Look at that bloke who got done by Fang. Like, there was someone in the chat will know his name. He was having an affair with a Chinese spy. Now, he wasn't having an affair with a Chinese spy who was doing something else. The affair was her spy work. He worked at Homeland Security. So she seduced him. He was like, oh, what could possibly go wrong with this Chinese woman who's come out of nowhere and tells me she loves me? He still works there. He still works at Homeland Security.
Wasn't there a British MP who was compromised from a Chinese spy, something like that, a couple of years ago?
I don't know. That doesn't ring a bell to me. Maybe someone in the chat will know.
I remember I might have heard that on the grapevine.
That's it. Nice one, RMF. The American bloke was Eric Swalwell. Yeah. Fang it was in the press. I don't know where that come from. Hello, Barclay. Mark has never focused on any type of electoral politics until very recently. Most of my time in PA was spent doing publicity stunts more than effective activism. Okay. I've got a lot of respect for Mark. I think he's sacrificed a hell of a lot with his life.
I did. Speaking of that,
seems to me. Go on, Dan.
Speaking of that, I was listening. Like I said, I was listening to Farage today and his press conference, and one thing that really bugs me about it's not really just about him; it's about that entire side of things. Is he constantly bleats on about the fact that he, more than anyone, has done more to defeat the far right in Britain, and he cites the British Nationalist Party as being his greatest triumph. And I just think, well, you're appeasing the wrong people. I don't trust this at all. I haven't spoken to Mark for a few years, but I've spoken to him. I was friendly with him. We had conversations in private. Like, this is a guy. It's a real person in his life. And everyone involved in that, they had responsibilities, consequences for their actions, all of this. And you're up there kind of bragging about it as if it's some massive feat. And yeah, you might get a little, well, actually, Hope Not Hate won't even give you a little golf clap. They fucking hate you. So why even say it at all? And I just find this is a problem within the right as a broad term. There's always this little schism. There's always, oh, fuck him, they're not real, they're doing this and that. And that's why I don't have any faith in the political system, because it seems like it's just designed to exclude people and to turn people against each other. And I don't want to be cynical, but I think Britain in the next 20, 30 years is just going to be South Africa 2.0. I
think when you lose faith in politics, you're left with war. And I don't want that. There was a period, again, going back to your glory years online, and people would be like, I think Hugh started it as a joke once, come on, warm up the helicopters. But war goes on and on and on and on, and there's rapes and there's tortures and there's murders and there's underhand economic globalist dealings going on. There's money to be made. That, you know, big business loves a war, you know, and I have to just believe that, you know, all politics is argumentation and evidence, really. Let's look at the facts and let's see how we can protect our nation. As soon as it becomes global, politics is hardly worth it, because, you know, the things that, say, Cambodia needs are next to useless in England. You know, they're not the same thing. So, you know, globalism itself is a internal contradiction. I'm just going to go through some super chats before they blow up, and I don't want to miss Billy's entropies. Jordan Taylor dropped an entropy. He said, "Happy birthday, Dan. Great hearing you guys together." Nice one, Jordan. Nice one for using entropy as well. The Niggler Blogs drops a birthday and Senna into entropy. Now, Dan, I don't know if you know Bill, but we call him the Niggler, and I can almost 100%.
That's dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, we're aware of that. But well, I'm going to read this out, and I assume it will prove why. Here we go. Nose to tail. So we're going back to the food. The most nutritious bits are the bits thrown away. So should we be like Cenk Uygur and become large, ungulate? Oh, I've been using ungulate in my short stories so many times recently, Bill. Good word. Large, ungulate cock enjoyers. Have you seen the African gnawing the ear face off the almost raw monkey's head? Moody eats brains. How far would you take this carnivore lark? Well,
fantastic super chat, by the way.
Yeah, entropy. But look at his own response to his own entropy. Yeah, he certainly. Hello, Lartus. He niggles. He earned the name. Right. I'm going to go through the super chats and then we'll watch that video. Right. Where were we last time? We done 42. Scory's been here 30 months again, probably about 60 months. Anglo's dropped another 5 spot. Chris, Big Sam. Oh no, Dan read that one out. Nice one, Anglo. Mousecat drops a 20 spot. Nice one, Mousecat. Going out on a limb here, being controversial. However, maybe our establishment want us to be more patriotic and right wing, especially as they want war, which is brewing. Well, it's happening in Europe. There's war in Europe, isn't there? Patriotism breeds misled bravery. Either way, Whitey gone.
I understand what he's saying. I think it's. I saw Morgoth on Twitter talking about Tory party red meat politics, where it's like, oh, we're going to bring back conscription. We're going to bring back national service for our lazy young people. And all the boomers are like, yes, this is what we need to teach our youth how to be proud of Britain and to do their part in all of this. It's all bollocks, of course. It's never going to happen. But the point is, if, let's just say, hypothetically, there was a war, a land war in Europe, which I can't imagine would be anything else other than a nuclear war. Why wouldn't it be?
Well,
so it doesn't make any sense.
Technological war, at least.
Sure,
yeah.
Right. But let's just go with it for a second.
Okay.
Do you think all of these third world migrants are going to sign up for the British Army and go and fight? No, they're not. It's going to be people like, I might be too old now, but white lads. That's what it's going to be. White British people. That's going to, and they'll be shipped off and they'll be gunned down, and that's what it would be.
White working class lads as well.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, but I don't believe in all of this World War III crap. I think it's because realistically, World War III would just be the end of humanity, right? That's what it would be.
I think since the end of the Second World War, we've been in a state of pure war. There's a great book by Paul Virilio, French thinker, called Pure War, and it's like, you know, sanctions, economics, politics, trade, which is, I know, is part of sanctions, and and proxy wars, of course, you know, where the Chinese and the Russians are fighting the Americans, but
not
over
really,
there,
yeah.
you know, not on their doorstep. And so I think that's how it plays out. I can't see any of these D-Day affairs again, any mass landings where, you know, digging trenches. It's just, you don't need it. You know, there's I was reading something yesterday on you know, that newsletter, OpenAI, is it? Or I sent it to you.
Open Tools, yes.
That's it. I was reading on there yesterday. They were saying that the Russians have got this drone, and if the Russians have got it, the Americans have got it, the Chinese have got it.
Of course.
It's this drone that uses AI to identify someone like a mile and a half down by their voice, and can just put a bullet in their head. See, I'm not laughing at people getting shot, but can you imagine you're just sitting there having a conversation about military, you know, tactics, and you just go, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And this tiny little like $5.99 drone with this little AI voice reader on it. Yeah.
I find the concept of fighting for your country to be completely ridiculous, because you're not fighting for a country, you're fighting for a small group of people who have got very specific interests. And it's not like patriotism in the past was, yes, we're going to defend Britain from all outsiders and invaders. Now it's almost like corporations having a scrap in a car park.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like,
just doing the fighting.
You're doing the dirty work of people who don't give a shit about you and actually want the worst for you and would discard you immediately.
And would like that fight to go on
forever.
Longer and longer. Yeah.
Endless, forever.
It's airport one stuff, isn't it? It really is.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, it's so this whole conscription thing, it was in the news a few weeks back, and I had a little chuckle to myself. Yeah, sure, okay, fine.
Did you know they chucked out? If someone in the chat knows, I'm guessing, but it was something like the American military chucked out something like, this is probably within 10 foul each way, about 50, 60,000 people, because they refused to be vaccinated. They just said, no, you're off. And then, of course, when everyone was sort of like, yeah, this COVID lark, when they realised that people were losing faith in the American military and the American and America as an idea, which it is, America is an idea. And it saddens me so much that it was an amazing idea. The Constitution, one of the most amazing pieces of writing ever, legislation you could call it, and the mess that country's in now. They invited them all back down. They said, look, forget it, you can all come back. And at time of reading that article, 40 people came back. 40.
Out of how many?
I think it was about 50,000.
Jesus.
Like 40 people were sort of like beaten enough and lost their balls enough to go, yeah, I'll come back. And, you know, the rest of them like, how about you fuck off? You treated me like shit because I refused to put some rando poison in me.
It's amazing how that time in history a few years ago, the COVID years, has just been completely brushed under the carpet. It's almost like it didn't happen. People never talk about it anymore. But can you remember? I mean, it was different for you because you're not in Britain, but at the time, the lockdowns were just insanity. And now it's just, yeah, well, that happened, I suppose.
I think moved on. The majority of people were behind it. They don't want to talk about it because it's embarrassing. They you know, it wasn't the plague. It wasn't the Black Death. It was the flu.
Yeah, it was a nice little psychological trick to let's train the population for the next one.
I remember when me, you, and Hugh we were doing a Three Stooges, and you said to me, "What do you think?" I said, "I think this is an information virus before anything else." I said there may be a gain of function that's been a gain of function virus that's been put into the populace, but as at heart, this is an information virus. And 6 years later, I don't think you can really argue that. It was like a training mission, I think.
Sorry, mate.
Finish this. That's all. Just one more. Arklow, great to hear Dan on a stream. Happy birthday, lad. Justice for Sam and Laura and their kids. Yeah, I agree with all three of those, Arklow.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That was the other fellow who lives in the other part of that island over there. He's a great lad, though. He plays golf.
Do you think when men start to play golf, it's usually later in life, isn't it, that they start to play golf? I know footballers do it. I don't know why footballers do it, actually.
Because they've got the money for it.
So you think it's just to be in that scene and to go to the golf.
No, I think it's amazing. I every year I get nearer to getting involved in it, and out here is amazing. There's so many golf courses in Cambodia.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and you know what a lovely day out. You get a few mates, you know. And over here they tend to do it around dusk, just before it gets dark, so it's not too hot. But, you know, you've always got the weather and, you know, you're sitting around beautiful landscapes. Get that.
Do you think it's just to get away from the wife and girlfriends for a few days?
I think it's a day off, yeah. It's a day off, couple of jars in the, the 19th hole or the 18th? 19th, in it, they call it. I don't know. But, you know, I never thought I'd lift weights. And it started by having a sauna, and then it was, I might just do some bicep curls. Now I love it. And if you'd have said to me at like 25, when you're 55, you'll be playing golf, I'd have just said, you don't know me at all. But it's coming. I can see it coming.
Do you want to hear something that might...
I want to thank Arklow and all the other people who I just responded to those super chats. Thank you. And now I do. Yes, Dan.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to say something that might lose me a lot of internet street cred, but the older I get, and again, I'm not that old. Well, I am, but I'm not. But what I want to start doing is metal detecting. I want to get a metal detector, and I want to spend my weekends walking through fields in the middle of nowhere, digging up whatever the hell's down there. And that just sounds to me like the greatest use of time that I can do. Does anyone else feel the same way? This is a purely male thing, by the way. No woman is listening to this and thinking, "Oh yeah, that sounds great." Every woman listening is thinking, "You're a loser for saying that." But I think it sounds great.
Is it because you think you might hit rich?
No, not really. Not really. I'll tell you what, there's loads of channels on YouTube of metal detectors in the UK. There's American ones, but I watch the UK ones. And these guys, they're all by themselves. They're all middle-aged, right? And they're all a bit shit at everything. But sometimes they dig up a coin that's got Henry VIII on, and I'm thinking, wow.
See you later, Woodland. Have a good weekend, mate.
See you, Woodland.
And I can understand that. You know, I remember my friend Mackenzie Crook. He wrote a series.
I've just watched all of the detectors. Yes,
yeah, that's it. And that made me think. I can see the attraction of just the old. But have you seen the old magnet fishing? I've got a lot of mates in England doing that.
I've seen that. Yeah, that's tempting as well. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting into that stuff now.
I think Mrs. Me in it, Mouse Cat's Mrs. might do it. I might have that wrong. But you get one of those rare earth magnets with an hole in it, you tie a bit of string around it and just go and chuck it in the river. And what have I got today? Oh, nothing. Next day, Second World War bayonet inscribed with like Himmler.
Oh, yeah. There's
how much have you looked into it, Dan? How much you expect to pay for an average a decent quality detector?
That's the problem. They vary quite a lot, and I haven't quite decided on what I'm gonna get.
Right, hang on a minute. Azdak, are you saying I'm a bit behind with the chat? Are you recommending Dan metal detect, or are you recommending I play golf? I'd be quite interested to know.
both.
Eleanor reckons that the best thing about golf was the trainer's aftershave. Oh, I see. Okay. I had a friend who decided to get ski lessons, and she ended up having an affair with the ski instructor. And I was like, hang on.
Of course.
This is such a cliche. And his name was like Sven, and he had like a fake tan. And
Swedish, yes, everything. Yeah, if your girl says, "Oh, I'm gonna start going to tennis lessons," beware.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah. I mean, chiropractic, apart from being an absolute scam and has killed so many people, that's a bit dodgy as well. There's so many chiropractic channels on YouTube. There's one, and it's just this bird with massive cans and low cut tops, unsurprisingly, and she just leans over people going, "Oh." And I'm going, "Oh, you look down, 7 million views."
Well, that's marketing for you. Sex sells, always has, always will.
Hello, real. Well, no, it doesn't, and it hasn't. Connection sells, and unfortunately, people tend to lack the ability to be intimate with people because of the way our culture has moved. So it's almost like a Trojan horse. No, it's not a Trojan horse. How would you describe it? It's the next best thing. You know, if you want to get close to someone, here's some tits. You know, because it's a survival thing, isn't it? When a man sees a nice pair of tits, they're engaged. I was talking just on my stream the other day, all the feminists like 10 years ago. We don't want grid girls. We don't want girls in the boxing. You know, they're objectified. Well, you have a look at YouTube shorts now. Nearly every short has got the thumbnail is just a sexy bird.
Yeah, it's just a girl's ass, and TikTok's even worse. That is just women jiggling about. That's all it is.
Yeah,
well, and they've got millions of followers. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's amazing, really, because that's why YouTube do YouTube Shorts. It's almost a algorithmic necessity. If you want to make a channel now, starting from scratch, there's always the anomalies that have a bit of luck or whatever, but you need to make shorts. And people think like a 30-second short takes a couple of minutes to make. Not a chance. Like, I've got a lockpicking channel that hit 15,000 subs yesterday, which I'm quite pleased about. But I have to make shorts for that, because if you don't, they don't promote your long form videos. And by the way, Dan, check this out. Long form on YouTube at the moment is considered 7 minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah. The whole reason that shorts exist on YouTube is because TikTok was just taking the YouTube audience. And they sat down and someone said, well, what are we going to do? They said, well, there's only one thing we can do. Just turn YouTube into TikTok. That's it.
Yeah. Instagram's doing the same thing.
There you go.
Ironically, TikTok is now rewarding people for long form content. So you can only get monetized if you do long form content. If you do a video under 60 seconds, that particular video won't be monetized. But if you
there you go.
There you go. It's flipping back and forth all the time. It's
but you describe over a minute as long form.
Well, that's TikTok's definition. Yes, that's what they say. Yeah. Can I go pour myself a drink, Chris? Because it is my birthday.
Yeah, of course you can, birthday
Thank
boy.
you very much. You
Blog
just
says, I'll read out a couple of blogs in super chats. You didn't answer the questions. How far would you take the carnivore diet? Well, I'm not on it, and nor is Dan, so we can't answer the questions. So, there are people in the chat who are on it. So if anyone wants to answer the questions, how far would you take? But I think in a modern nation, you can get meat quite easily, so that's how far you'll need to take it. Packer has only eaten meat for a few years. Who's the other fella? Is it Arklow? Oh no, it's Pags. Pags has only eaten like steak or something for like 5 years or something. So I don't understand. Anyway, horse cock. I mean, why you wouldn't need to, would you? I mean, why? Brains. People eat brains. or the U link, or the link you're afraid to click, the apex carnivore, knobbly knees delicacy, like live monkey brains? It's a weird question though, Bill. I think what you're actually asking is, how squeamish are you about different bits of eating animals? And I think that's contextual. And in fairness, you're right. I didn't answer your questions because I didn't understand them. But it's contextual. You know, out in Cambodia, they eat tarantulas. They eat snails. Snails the size of your fist. Well, my fist. Yours is probably like a little girl's one. But they do that because they went through a war where if you didn't eat things like that, you were surviving, that is, dying on white rice. Well, they didn't. It wasn't white rice because they didn't bother taking all the husk off, because there's no nutrition in white rice. So it would depend. You know, if I hadn't eaten for 30 days and there was a horse cock, I would eat it. Of course I would. You would. Anyone would. You would be surprised how hungry you can get and what you'll eat. If it's going to save your life, you'll probably eat it. But now you've made someone able to clip that. So, but most of those people who used to clip me to try and embarrass me, you've got to go some to embarrass me. I've said plenty of stuff myself. The next one from Bill. Jeremy Hunt, lol, former Foreign Secretary and current Chancellor, is married to Lucia Guo, born in China. They met in 2009 at a London conference where Lucia worked as a recruiter for Chinese students. There you go. It's madness, isn't it? It's absolutely madness. Nice one, Bill. Right, let me click that link you gave me and we'll have a little look at that. Culinaryschools.org, raw monkey brains. I wouldn't be surprised if people ate them out here, you know.
It reminds me of Indiana Jones 2, Temple of Doom.
Yeah, they're sitting at the table and they're served with the faces still on them, aren't they? I think, you know, depending on where you were, your situation, you'd eat it. Well, right, I found that video. Dan, before we move on, because we have come to a natural break, when you did you pour yourself a drink or have a wee, or do both?
No, I did both. Two birds.
At the same time.
Yeah,
just a little bit of ice. Right, let's have. So this is that video someone knocked up earlier that I found quite funny. History Bro posted this, and it was on the tab about this zero seats campaign. If you don't know what that is, there's a campaign so that the Tories get 0 seats in the next election.
Did academic agents start this, or did he just jump on board?
I don't know.
It seems to be he's pushing it the most.
I don't know. So if someone in the chat knows, please let us know. Here we go. Let's have a watch. This is 2 minutes long, so I shouldn't get yeeted because it's made for sharing. I'll get me and Dan off the screen for a couple of seconds.
For 200 years, the Conservative and Unionist Party of the United Kingdom has bravely and consistently betrayed not only its own voter base, but all native peoples of the British Isles. From constitutional reforms to dissolving the British Empire, from desecration of tradition to importing endless migrants, it is the Conservative Party that has been on the forefront of the destruction of this ancient people and their lands. I am immensely proud of what we have managed to achieve as a party, taking the greatest empire to ever span the face of the earth to being a pathetic, miserable, and broken nation mocked the world over. In recent years, we have greatly accelerated our plans to crush the ethnic Britons, making sure we openly show our hatred to you at every turn. And let me be clear, we do hate you. We despise you. We have not done enough, though. Despite all of our betrayal, our blatant loathing of you, you still vote for us.
This is fantastic.
Even as we refuse to simply deliver a referendum. And then when we do, we subvert your wishes by then opening our borders to the world. Even as we take all of your wealth and make the promised public services completely unusable, there are still some of you who vote for us. It is you, our voters, who we find the most disgusting. To combat this, I am incredibly proud to introduce our new policy, 0 seats. 0 seats is the policy where we shall do everything possible to make sure at the next general election, we as a party obtain 0 seats. You will have already seen 0 seats in action, such as arguing over how much of your money to send to foreign conflicts that are nothing to do with you, or straight up making you homeless as we lavishly treat foreign peoples and hand over your property to them, and then criminally punishing you if you so much as point any of this out. So please, when you think about the next election, think 0 seats. If we all play our part, we can finally make 0 seats a reality.
I'm assuming AA made that if this is his campaign.
That is brilliant. People are scared of AI. Not if you use it for this purpose. This is incredible. Brilliant.
There you go. I was about to say, for people who don't know, that software is likely 11 Labs. And 11 Labs you can use for free. And one of the things you can do with it is clone voices. Now, with people like Rishi Sunak, or me, or people who've got a lot of talking on the internet, you just make that into an MP3, plug it into 11 Labs, take you about 5 minutes to clone someone's voice. Once it's got its basic pattern, you can then sort of start messing around with, make it a little bit more casual, a little bit more of this, fuck around with the punctuation for the, gaps and all that. And you can get them pretty good. Devon Tracy, who's had his Pouch YouTube channel banned, he keeps going, he keeps trying, bless him. But you can still get him on censored.tv and Subscribestar. So if you check him out on Twitter and I'll tell you what, he's still making amazing content. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he is mine. He's still making great content. And on censored.tv, is that what it's called? Gavin McInnes's thing.
I thought that was Compound Media, isn't it?
No, it's definitely not Compound Media. I think it's Sense. There's that one where
whatever it is.
But someone in the chat will mention it in a minute. But he made a video where he was talking about cloning voices and blah 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 blah, and then right at the end he says, "Oh, by the way, I said a word. This was all made on 11 Labs." And I knew, because I knew what to look out for with 11 Labs. But in the comments, people were like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, so William, it is called Censored TV, isn't it? So Gavin McInnes said that Devon gets more views than anyone else on that platform, and there's loads of people on it, including Gavin McInnes, including that young girl who hasn't got the same attraction anymore because she's just like a normal person. It was funny when she was 12, like slagging off immigration.
Solf you're talking about.
That's it. She's on there, but it's lost its sort of novelty factor. Just quickly, Dan, I know this has become it hasn't actually, but a nostalgia stream. But do you remember excuse me, the amount of bedroom feminists there used to be? And if you didn't really use them as bait, you were more into sort of national politics. To your credit.
What do you mean by bedroom feminists?
They were like 15, 16. They just
on Tumblr
feminism at school, and they were suddenly on telly telling everyone how bad it is for women, and and you're like, and all the, what were they called, the cynic, I always forget what they were called, all that lot, all the Gamergate lot would just rip them to pieces. They don't really exist anymore. There's 3 of those bedroom feminists left on YouTube.
Well, it all just became corporations shilling for it instead of individuals. Like I said earlier in the stream, the archetype of the annoying blue-haired feminist with thick-rimmed glasses doesn't really exist anymore, because it's just too overt, isn't it? their messages are still perpetrated, but they're done in a more corporate way with lots of money behind them. Instead of some harpy on BBC Newsnight saying, "I've got it so hard, people look at me, men whistle at me." Fuck off.
Hang on a minute. Someone in the chat just said Mosaic Labrador. Is Moslab here? Or did someone just say Mosaic Labrador for no reason?
Who's that?
Oh, Moslab. I mentioned him earlier, but I think maybe someone just said it. I don't know. Maybe they're talking to someone about something I know nothing about. Yeah, that was a weird old time, wasn't it? When all the bedroom feminists. What were they called? What was like armored skeptics, shoe on head? There was a name for them all.
Oh, the skeptics.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right.
Sargon was sort of like their sort of flag
bearer. Their emperor. Yeah, yeah, he was. That's funny. That was before I started my child. That it bled over, but it was before. It was a couple of years before my time, I think.
Well, I just left stand up. I'd done my last gig. It was a terrible gig. The geezer who was paying me, he asked my mate, he said, "Should I pay him?" And my mate said to him, "I think you better." 500 quid as well. But I walked home and thought, "No, I'm done with this." And then I thought, you know, I Bearing told me how to make a YouTube channel, and it was like, get Camtasia, get this, get that, and I was just sitting there looking at all this stuff, going, "What?"
Christ,
and it was
Bearing, the Australian.
He had about 20,000 subs. We Skyped, and he was trying to tell me how to make a channel, and I got nowhere with it. And then I got to know Devon a little bit. We went out for a cup of coffee, and he said it was something like StreamYard, but pre-StreamYard. And I was like, "Wow, I've got a channel now." And I had a mate come round my house, and he went, "Do you know what an SJW is?"
Oh.
And like, I went, "No." He went, "Oh, you're going to love this." And that whole world just opened up. And, you know, when you first get into it, when you first realize there's this new brand of like essentially young communists trying to tell everyone how to run the world, it's like, what the fuck is going on? It was a schism, you know. It was like the earth sort of had a little jolt on its axis.
I remember that because Tumblr was a big website at the time. Now it's dead. It's totally dead. But back then, that was their mecca. That's where they all went to post all of their verbal diarrhea. And I was exposed to that simply because I was on Tumblr because I used to be an amateur photographer. I used to be a wedding photographer, but I used to take photos for enjoyment. And I used to post my... Yeah.
Whoa. No.
I thought I've told you that before, I think.
Yeah, but hang on. What? You actually done gigs where you turned up?
Yeah.
How many?
Not many. I only did it for about 6-8 months, something like that.
And why did you give it up? Because it's a nightmare.
Because it's a fucking nightmare. Weddings are awful. Yeah. No. The people who enjoy weddings the least are the bride and groom. I've learned that. They're the worst things in the world. And the people are awful, by the way. I can't tell you how many times someone would hire me to photograph their wedding and then after the fact try and get out of paying me because Uncle bloody John came along with his DSLR and his iPhone and he took loads of pictures. So why do we have to pay this kid? It was just a constant battle with trash, basically. So I thought, this is not worth my time. It's an experience, but I'm over it now.
I had a mate, Dan, and when he was at uni to try and make a little bit of money on the side, he signed up. Excuse me. He signed up to this hair restoration course where you put adverts up and people call you up and say, "Yeah, I want to do your course. I'm receding." And he said he had one customer ever. And this bloke saw him every month for about 2 years. His hair continued to recede as he carried on paying him. And he said by the end of it, he realized this bloke just wanted a mate. He had no friends. So he was happy to pay him 100 quid a month just to come round. And my mate would be like, right, looking at, and it'd have all these sort of weird measures like phrenology, sort of going, well, you've lost 0.2% on your male pattern side. And this bloke would be like, did I tell you my wife's left me? And like my mate's just trying to swing it back to why he's there. She said I was a creep. She said I looked at her sister too many times. And now, have you thought of using this new product? They've laid me off at work, It's fucking hell, man. So sorry. So you were doing your wedding photography, then?
Yeah. So I would just take photos for fun in general, and I would post them on Tumblr because as wild as Tumblr was at the time, it was actually a great platform for photographs. Great resolution. Yeah. Well, it was great.
I've never been on there.
And that's how I got exposed to this wave of bedroom feminists, as you called them. And when I was in Paris in 2015 and Charlie Hebdo happened, and I went on Tumblr that evening in my hotel room, all I saw was an endless stream of these people defending the murders. And I thought, oh, okay, that's what this is. I understand it now. And it developed from there. And it became the culture war, didn't it, back then? It's developed into something else now, but that's what it was at the time. That's where that huge schism came from. Are you even listening to me, Chris? You're muted, by the way. You are muted, my friend.
Apologies. Someone in the chat said Milo. You must remember Milo.
Of course, yes, of course.
No, not Ianopoulos. Not that Milo.
Oh yeah, the tranny. With the.
We don't say that on this chat.
Okay, sorry.
We say mental health issues, body dysmorphic, transsexual, and with respect for them. Yeah. If you want to check out my videos where I say mental illness is a myth. But it looks like Milo's detransitioned. It might be a different Milo. But let's just have a little look at the kind of content that, it says 5 years ago. Yeah. Let's just have a little look at this, because I remember watching it and we hadn't heard of this. Isn't it weird that they don't, in the LGBTQI plus 2 spirit, all that, barbecue. The one they won't accept in their ever evolving gang of strange people, shall we say, interesting types. They won't have your standard white male transvestite, will they? No. They won't just have Uncle John who dresses up in his wife's underwear when she's out. They're not interested in that.
They're not. Yeah, I don't think those people are a minority, Chris. I think they're on every street corner at this point, aren't
they? You can wear a nappy and pretend you're 5 years old. That's fine. But they don't want any straight white men who just. That's always been a bit grimy for me. I find that a little bit, yeah. But anyway, let's have a little look at what Milo was talking about. But she says, stopping testosterone and detransitioning. But the chances are she's not going to be able to have kids ever. But all I remember is her voice. Hi, I'm in my age.
Oh, dear.
Let's have a little look and remind ourselves of what exploded on the internet and made us all think. Camille Paglia, a feminist of the old school, I've got a lot of respect for. Wood tap, really like Camille Paglia. I really do. I really, really respect her. She's a great arguer. She's not a feminist. She's not a feminist, actually. I'm taking that back. She called herself a feminist, but when the definition changed, it was almost like a legacy title for her. But she said that historically, the ends of empires have been there's been a few things that have signaled the ends of empires.
Yeah, and transgenderism is one of them, isn't it?
Yep, and
Yeah.
celebrity chefs is another one. And we're going
Which is so funny. Yeah, that's great.
We're going right back to Greece here. You know, you can. She says, you look at all the. You look at what's his name? The Mogul, Mongolia, Khan.
Genghis Khan. Yeah.
Yeah, even that empire. At the end of it, they had celebrity chefs and transition.
Now look,
Anyway.
I like Gordon Ramsay as much as the next man, but come on, this is worrying. Very worrying.
Yeah. Well, I've got a weird, I've got 1, 2. I know very well 3 celebrity chefs. One of them,
you know everybody. Just before you said that, your friend Mackenzie Crook made the show Detectress. I was like, how do you know these people? By the way, Chris, that's a very white television show. Is he? Is he our guy or not?
No, God no.
No, that's a shame.
We don't talk anymore because he's quite the opposite, weirdly.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Yeah, well, the reason I've met a lot of people, or know a lot of people, is because I lived in Soho for so long. It's just the nature of where you live, And when you're the secretary of the big Narcotics Anonymous group, Anyway, let's have a little look at Milo and bring a few nightmares back to people. But it's a weird one because it looks like she decided she's not going to be a man after all.
Shocking.
Yeah. Hang on, Mum, this ain't working.
Hi, pals. So you may have noticed that I have completely...
God, the voice straight away. Brings me back.
I felt it physically in my chest.
Same thing.
Hi, pals. it was as different in the same word as her shirt.
Oh, dear me.
Avoided talking about my physical transition on this channel pretty much since I started physically transitioning. I've often felt a mental block around talking about my physical transition because my changes have been very slow and honestly very non-linear.
No, you haven't. You made about 1 million videos about it. Oh, I'm very reluctant to talk about my transition, even though my channel is all about my transition. Crack on, Milo. Opa.
And I thought I would have to spend the whole time pointing out small changes that only I could notice and then defending my physical transition. On top of that, I started testosterone before informing my family about my physical transition. And so keeping it private was honestly just necessary to start the dialogue with those close.
Keeping it private. You're a bird, like 100 million %. No one's like, hang on, our daughter's a bloke.
Do you know what? So I haven't seen this person for years, almost a decade. I'm half expecting this video to go on and for her to say something like, and that's why I'm voting for Donald Trump. And just like a complete flip. Trannies for Trump. It's a real thing.
It's
like a Blair. What's that? Blair White. You remember her?
Blair White.
Him. Fucking hell.
Yeah, like a right wing. Yeah, that was confusing, and it was a weird time, wasn't it? Let's just have a look at the most played bit because that's usually the guts. That's what everyone's here for. But these people, they're obsessed with it. It's no surprise that it's called an identity. My channel, when I do streams on my own, I talk about my identity. I talk about things I'm interested in. I like to get other people involved because it's a stream, but you can't really do much else when you're talking unless you've got a particular subject. But even then, I'm going to come at it from my position. So, these people, it's like, it's their lives. I'd like to think my identity was writing, I've got a quite a history of drug use. I like to think but these people, it's just, I'm transitioning, I'm a transitioner, I'm trans. Have you got it yet? I'm trans. And that's it. I don't think I've ever seen one of these videos where they've talked about something else they do. They just transition and occasionally trans back. Right, let's just have a look at this most watched bit, and I'll not make any of you suffer. Absolutely real. It is self-obsession. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I just saw that comment and I couldn't agree more. Definitely.
Yeah. And that's really sad to me because, they're obsessed about something that isn't even, it's imaginary. You cannot change you can change a gender because that's why that word was invented. But you want us to mean sex. And I'm sorry, love. Here we go.
I'm a little disappointed by. Depending on your doctor, you're often given the choice to start on a low dose and then work up to a higher one, or start on a dose that you would ideally stay on for years. Some trans people also have to consider taking estrogen blockers before or alongside.
No, I can't hack it. Dan, have you seen Metacore's video, How Sausages Are Made?
Yes, that's a classic, and I've seen it once and I don't want to watch it again. So please don't get it up.
No, I couldn't. They wouldn't have it on here anyway. But for people who haven't seen it, you see the likes of Blair White. I don't know what's going on downstairs with Blair White. And you see these people who've transitioned, and you see them from the neck up with their false tits and that.
I tell you what, he hasn't had the chop. I'm telling you right now. No way.
Who's this?
Blair White. Not a chance.
You don't think so?
Nope.
That's interesting.
I don't think so.
Well, the thing is, when you have the chop, so to speak, when you have your male genitals removed, you've then created a wound, and your body will spend the rest of your life trying to
heal it. Yes.
And as an everyday thing you have to do is pack it out and keep it dilated, or it will just close. And if you're expecting someone to put I remember there was this poster girl for transitioning. Like, I think she was a mixed race girl, a boy, but she very convincing transition. Probably had one of those lithe Southeast Asian bodies that lend themselves to it. And one of her boobs just exploded, and it just looked like a balloon at the end of the Christmas party. It was like, and she's just disappeared now. And she spent hundreds of thousands. And there's things like they take the skin off the arm, but to make things to
right. Yeah, it's horrible.
It grows hair. They have to shave it.
It's anti-human. By the way, Blair White, along with, I think the majority of these people are just gay guys who have a fetish. That's it. But that's all it is.
But hang on a minute. Hang on. I think there's more autoeroticism. There's a word for it, isn't there? Gyno. Oh, come on. Someone in the chat. What is it? There's. I think they're turned on by it. I think they find themselves sexually attractive looking at themselves dressed as a woman.
Yes, I think so. It's really weird. Sorry to interrupt, but I think you and I were having a discussion. I think Hugh was there years ago, and we were talking about pride and all of this. And you said, well, what's the difference if they really want to be treated equally to the rest of us, which is a lie, by the way, but that's what they say. Then what's actually the difference between them and us other than their sex life?
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's fetishes. It's that's all it is. And this entire movement is created from that. And we have to go along with it.
And thank you for everyone. Hello, 22H. Nice to see you, mate. Thank you for everyone who, this is what it is, autogynephilia. It's when a man dresses up as a woman and they're sexually attracted to themselves. Right. Now, for me, that is going to cause you problems. And if it gets as far as chopping your cock off and all the other stuff that goes with it, a healthy society would probably talked to them about this for several years.
I'd say that's a step too far, isn't it? That's a bit worrying.
Yeah, do you think so?
A little bit.
It's and you know, you see on TikTok, and I know we're going back a few years now, but it's still happening. You know, these people, they brag that their 4-year-old school kids that they're the teachers of know that they're trans and that they've got pride flags everywhere and all that. And I don't care if you want to do that to your body, and I don't have to pay for it. I don't care. I think I believe in freedom. Go and do it. But the fact that we're in a society, the West, promotes teachers telling 4-year-olds their sexual preferences. That's what it is. None of my teachers told me about their sex lives. I didn't know anything. I didn't know if they were gay. I didn't know if they were straight. I didn't know if they were virgins. But there's TikTok videos where every day, one of my students come up to me today and said, "I'm like you. I don't know if I'm a boy or a girl either." And it's like, okay, so what did that kid actually get home and think? Did a 4-year-old kid actually think, do I like sucking cock or do I like licking fanny? I don't know.
That's going to get clipped, by the way.
Huh?
That's going to get clipped.
Yeah, well, you know, there's plenty of content out there they can clip. But you know, it's just there's no, that's not the context for that. It's just absurd, and they're so happy about it.
Did I ever tell you this? I must have told you this, but I've started, so I'll finish. Much like Mastermind. When I was a photographer back in the day, I got a job to photograph the Newcastle Pride Parade. This was in 2011, something like that, 2010. And that day I saw things that red pilled me for life. It was just like, what is happening here? Why are all these men walking with their knobs out by these children? And it was a family event, and all of these parents with children had bought tickets to go to this big thing, and it was just knobs everywhere. Why is this happening? And I was like, at the time I wasn't even a political person. I was a young guy. I was in university, and then I was just thinking, this is not for me at all. Like, this is crazy.
I lived in Soho, as you know, for decades, and the Pride was just a horror show for me and most of the gays who lived in Soho. You know, the week leading up to it, I'd be with a couple of the gays I knew. I go, "What are you up to?" And they go, "Getting the fuck out of town before Pride." And you'd be like, yeah, most of Pride isn't gay people. They hate it. Not all of them. I'm sure there's some. But when it's finished, the floor is covered in drug paraphernalia, needles, little baggies, bottles of amyl nitrate, GHB. Sorry, no, I can never remember what one's a punch in the head and what one's a punch in the personality. And it's you know, people walking around with fucking chin dildos and like,
oh god, yeah.
And it's like, yeah. And it's a family event, you know. There's like little kids stroking blokes like dressed up as leather dogs, and
yeah.
No, it's almost, well, it's not almost, it's farcical. But what it's done for the gays, I've not got a problem with the gays, never have. You know, I was the only straight in the village in Soho.
Look, we all enjoy Boy George. Come on, let's be honest.
George is hilarious. George is one of the funniest people I know. Absolutely savage. Very funny bloke. But what a thing. It was Pride Day, Pride Week, Pride Month. And, you know, what do they actually tell these kids in these classes? We're celebrating Pride. What are we proud about, miss? Well, I'm not the same as other women. Well, why not? Well, because some women I mean, you know, where'd you go from there to a 4-year-old? Why would you even?
The Woodlander wrote a comment which is directed at me, and I find it funny. He says, "Far too many knobs for any respectable nationalist to be seeing in one go." You're right. You're right. I've seen my fair share, and that's enough. But to be fair, I was 21 years old. I didn't know anything. But come on.
Leon says the trans thing has made my life hell. Why should I get the blame for these nonsense? Leon, that was what the gays in Soho were like with me. Like I'd say to them when all this started kicking off, what are you making of all this, you know, all the L? Because I remember going to an NA meeting. It was the Monday night one on Frith Street, and it was the lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGB. That was it. Lesbian. So you like women, you're a woman who likes women, you're a man who likes man, or you're either who likes both. Right?
No
and
T.
they're actual sexualities. But when you put a T on the end of it, that's not sexuality, that's an identity. The taxon has changed. You know, suddenly you could put on the end of that role player. LGBT, role playing, fast cars, parascending, you know, and I would say this to people like George, you know, and they'd be like, well, you know, we've moved on when people would be imprisoned and it was illegal. Yeah, he said, you know, and this is what George, I can't remember if it was George or Fat Tony because they're a bit of a double act, but it was something like, imagine watching Pride on the news, which is on the news every night during Pride decade, and seeing all that blatant sexuality, and you're 13, you're gay, you haven't come out, you're thinking about telling your parents because life's a fucking, you know, that can't be easy. You know, you're gay. You've got an old man who's a builder who fights down the boozer. He's like 50, he's still having weekly fights, prize fighting. And you want to tell him just so that you can know him a bit more, maybe get some support off him. And then you're sitting there and there's things on telly of like all that, you know, the things that we all know go on at Pride. Like there was a bloke kneeling down at the Portaloos, like, you know, just in passing. So if you wanted to have a wee in his mouth, and then you have to say to your prize fighting dad, you know those people on telly earlier that you sort of turned your nose up and sort of lifted your paper up a bit? I'm one of those. That makes it fucking, I think, look, like Leon said, it's made his life hell. Leon's gay. It's made his life hell. And
Leon might be gay, but is he one of those that stands around waiting for someone to piss in his mouth? That's a bit much, isn't it?
If he wanted to do that in his bedroom, I don't give a shit. But yeah, on Berwick Street at 4:00 in the afternoon,
I don't know if that's acceptable.
I'm guessing Leon doesn't. Oh no, I tried that with my first girlfriend. We give that a go.
Wait, no, hang on.
No, absolutely. Oh. Yeah, you know
why?
Well, because you know you
don't have a reason, do you? You just did it.
Yeah, just you having sex and that, and then I just said, "Oi, do you want to try this?" And she went, "All right, then." It was very funny. It wasn't. We didn't take to it. We weren't out the next day buying like snorkels and flippers.
Well, I hope not. Jesus.
Somewhere it's on video. That'd be funny. Finding me at like 16 with my
You
first
taped
girlfriend.
it as well. Hang on, you taped it.
Yeah. On I think it was a U-matic. Do you remember them? Well, it might have been.
No, I don't remember them, Chris. I'm much younger than you are, and I've never engaged in this kind of behavior.
Long before the days of iPhones and all that. So if you had a video camera and your missus was round, you thought, I'm not going to miss out on this little trick. But it was only funny. It wasn't like, oh yeah, Yeah, this is a bit of me. I was crying with laughter right as my. I'm not going to go into too much detail. But,
please! I think we've heard enough detail of it. Jesus Christ!
Nah,
Well,
man. Listen.
By the way, I find this funny. I'm just pulling your chain here. But
if you're going to put your penis in a, you know, sex is pretty grotty. Let's be honest. I don't think. I've enjoyed experimenting with sex all my life. I've done some very, very peculiar things. Sometimes it pays off sexually. Sometimes it's like, oh dear. And sometimes it's like, we really should have put some clear plastic down beforehand.
Oh my God, it's like a murder scene. Jesus. This is my birthday, Chris. This is I wasn't expecting this.
Bit for you. Bill dropped an entropy. So did Pavlovsky. Hello, Pavlovsky. You new here? Well, for all the people who are new here, I'm a writer. There's a link in the top. There's no paywall over there. You can make a donation, and I will from now on, I will leave you a video thank you. They've only started it a week ago, but it's that. Dan, oh, you're not there. You see that QR code in the top right?
Yeah,
if you go over there, if you put your phone camera over it, a link will come up on your screen. Go over there, make a donation. I'll give you a 30-second thank you. And that's the one that takes the least money as well. But why am I talking about that? Apart from
I don't know. You're just grifting. It's fine.
Fine. But no, there was a link to it. Oh damn!
Wait, are we back to the pissing, or is this?
No.
What? I'm lost.
Pavlovsky's a new name. I don't recognise the name. So anyone here who doesn't know that I'm a writer, I published my first novel at 24, sold 9,000 copies. I've written about 4 since, but they weren't worthy of publication. I've been working on one for 7 years. I've been saying it's coming out this year for about 5 years. It's coming out this year. But it sort of is.
I've heard that for the last 4 years, by the way.
Yeah, but it sort of is now. I mean, I've got a full-time job as well. So, but if you go to my Substack, it's totally free. That's why I mentioned that. There's no paywall, and there's about 35 short stories. And, you know, I've had thousands and thousands of views. You can read the comments on them and for a bit of social proof. And I'd appreciate that. Some of the stories are like 1,000 words. Some of them are like 5,000 words. Don't forget to like this video as well, because otherwise it's very. I really appreciate you talking in the chat, but if you don't like it, YouTube won't suggest it to anyone. And you know, it's hard work talking about weeing in the bath with your first girlfriend and videoing it, and you know you want that stuff to get out there, don't you?
You really spread that around. Yes, everyone needs to hear about that.
There's another one, Anglo again, nice one, Anglo. The Swiss love them, and they're doing okay. Will we ever have another referendum in the UK again, Chris and Dan? I doubt it. I'll never say never, but like in that little Rishi Sunak sort of blag clip, you know, oh, we've got Brexit, we've got our sovereignty and our independence back, and then they flooded us with millions of migrants. So they're prepared for anything you try and do, they'll just fuck it for you anyway. So even if there was a referendum and it was like, do you want less immigration to about like 15%, and the 95% of the country said yes, they'd still find a way to get around it. So my answer would be, we'd likely have another referendum, but with the current political parties, it doesn't mean anything. That would be my answer. Dan, you got anything to say on that?
Well, I remember how passionate I was back in the day when the Brexit referendum was coming up. And this is before I had a channel. And in real life, I was probably a bit annoying, to be honest. I was just talking about it all the time. You know, that annoying guy that can't stop talking about politics at a dinner party. You know, when you meet with
How
friends.
many of them have you
Yeah,
been to?
come on. I've never been to a fucking dinner party in my life. So I don't know why I said that. Anyway, yeah. So, and then when it happened, I felt this tremendous sense of triumph and victory.
Yeah.
And I don't know, skip forward 8 years later, what's changed? Nothing. Not really.
Yeah, quite the
Yeah,
opposite.
so it's almost like, okay, it like I said earlier, it was a pressure release mechanism for the public. It was a protest vote. Yeah, of course, people didn't know what they were voting for because it was a protest vote. They didn't like the way things were going in general, and they said, "Fuck you. We know the system and the establishment doesn't want Brexit to happen. We're going to vote for it." And they still managed to spin it to their advantage. There was no real change positive from that. So
it still felt good to win something, though, didn't it?
it did, but that's a fleeting moment. That's a moment in time. Yeah, and it passes very quickly because then, I mean, Christ, how many years of slogging negotiations happened after that? Do people remember Theresa May being the prime minister and all that? People forget about this stuff. The energy was sapped out very, very quickly, and I don't even know where we are now. Well,
they negotiated Brexit out of Brexit, really, didn't they?
Yeah, yes. They just injected apathy into the populace. And that energy was gone, and it was over because they sapped it out, and they
it costed British small to medium enterprise businesses a lot of money because they made it very hard to trade with Europe.
Yeah, and you know what? Like if Labour are going to win the election, that's a given. I can imagine in 5-10 years' time, of course they'll come around. Oh, what about rejoining the EU? And even if we did, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter because it doesn't mean anything. When we're out, things are worse than ever. When we're in, nothing's changed.
No, I disagree with you on that. I fully support anything that dissembles, if that's a word, globalism. Anything
I do as well, but I don't think it's real. That's my point. I don't think it's real, Chris.
Yeah, but they've got power over you then, haven't they? They start saying, no, you are the third richest country or the second in the EU, so you've got to pay this amount of money to get Ukraine out of trouble and all that sort of thing. And I just don't support globalism. I believe in the nation state. And like you say, even if it is a Pyrrhic victory like Brexit was, it's still, I think, the morale that winning Brexit, I support Trump, and people are like, what are you talking about? He's this, he's that, he's this. But he's also not the Democrats, who are fucking pathetic and weak and are destroying America intentionally. Trump didn't do that. He wasn't perfect, of course not. But
Trump's a wild card. He's a grenade in the system, even though, yes, he's not perfect. Like we said earlier, don't let perfect be the enemy of decent, I suppose.
There you go. Good call. Anglo, another donation. Yeah, I mean, it's the Hippocratic Oath, isn't it? Shall do no harm. There's another thing in it, and this won't be verbatim. If I had ChatGPT up, I'd ask it, but I haven't. It's something like doctors will remove, repair, or replace. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows it, but there's nothing in that oath that says will add to. There's nothing like will give you horns. Right. It's just centuries of medical. What's the word? Ethics, essentially, just thrown out the window. No, you're 12 years old. You don't want tits. Well, chop them off. You can make decisions like that. What? And if your parents complain, no, don't worry. We'll send them to prison. You can go into care. Yeah, I hate my mum and dad. Well, you wait till you get to care.
Chris, I've got about half an hour left. Let me go relieve myself, and then we'll
Go on then. Thank you, Anglo.
This final part of the stream will be high energy. We'll really get into the meat and gravy of everything. How about that?
It's 20-1 here. I mean, if you can pull that off, sweet.
I'm not promising anything, but we'll try. Okay, I'll
Come
be back.
on, go and have a wee. I've had 3 people sign up to my Substack. It's not for everyone. And what I would ask you to do, don't read them in order, because the first lot were I had to sort of exercise a load of stories around a very similar theme, and they're not nice, but so maybe pick like the second one and then the 10th one. But yeah, thanks for giving it a go. As a writer, knowing that people are going to read my stuff is lovely. I've done a stream on I can't remember whose channel it was, but someone very respectable. That's it. Teddy Dutton came on this stream to talk about the myth of free will, and we had at one point 300 subscribers. So I took that opportunity to shield my Substack. Like I say, there's no paywall, but I like people to read what I write. And by the end of the stream, I'd had something like 15 new subscribers. And, I was like, wow, lovely. I usually get about one a day, just as it rolls. And when I put a new piece up, if I bother to, send it out there, I'll get a few more. But I got about 15 at the end of that stream. And I woke up in the morning and had lost 17. More than I got. I think I reminded people that I had it, and they were probably like, oh yeah, I'm still subscribed to that. So they left as well. Yeah, it's a bit brutal. 22H has been a member for 10 months. So like all the others, I'd guess it's likely more than that. Scory's got a duty off. Well, we are at nearly 3 hours. We'll probably quit it at the 3 hour point. So 18 more minutes. Nice one, Scory. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. It's always nice to talk to Dan. I remember the Three Stooges. 3 very different characters. I remember we were getting like 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 viewers, 1,500 sometimes live. And I remember I was just sitting with my 3,000 subscriber channel, and I'm watching one of Dan's video. I'd never spoken to him, and he'd done this video, my top 5 YouTubers. And I came in at number 1. He said they're not in any order, but when you're number 1, I was like, no, why? I was going, yeah. And then me and Hugh got together, and them two never stopped getting hassled for it. You back from the wee, Dan?
Yeah, I was laughing to myself there because you were saying, oh, we had sometimes 1,500 live viewers at the time. Someone left me a comment on my recently reinstated X account. And it was something along the lines of, God, I remember when you were massive and now you're struggling to get 30 likes in an hour. And I'm like, well, I have been banned since 2018. I mean, give me a break. Come on. But I don't know. I find that stuff really funny now. It was a time.
It was a time. You were saying to me the other day that you're getting a bit of grief. Since you got back on Twitter, you're getting people going, so what are you doing then? What platforms are you on?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit, yes. But to be, these people, they don't understand that the Twitter was just reinstated. I didn't even realize it was just, I got denied twice, and then a week later, oh, you're back. Okay. And yes, it's all about, it's like internet street cred. It's, what are you doing? You need to be doing more. And you said to me over WhatsApp, you said, because of the size of my channel back in the day, there's an expectation upon people like me that other people might not have. And it's going to take too long to explain, but the long and short of the matter is I'm actually a very busy person in my life. This is all ancient history to me. It's not saying that my views have changed. Of course they haven't. But if you believe in the political system, I'm afraid I don't. That's not where my mind is. So it's like I'm not on the same page as you, and it's nothing personal against anybody. It's just the way I think. But
I also think that people don't realise the drain on your life. The more successful you get, the more hassle you get. You had the gutter press turning up at your family's doorsteps. You know, one of your videos took you like what 3 or 4 weeks to research and edit, and then when you put it live, YouTube went nah, and you'll be like, okay, start again. You know,
yeah, well, yeah. And at the time, that Rumble didn't exist at the time. It was funny, but people have had it much worse than me. I'm not going to come on here and cry about it at all. In fact, the older I get, it's been nearly 5 years now since this happened. I'm over it. I don't care. Things move on. It's fine. But when you get people who are, they might be new to the scene. They might be trying to prove themselves, trying to gain friends and influence people. If there's a recognizable name and you can kind of chip at that tree a little bit with an axe, and maybe that's kind of what people are trying to do. Honestly, in my regular everyday life, I'm such a normie now. I'm aware of things, but I'm not as entrenched as I used to be. And that's just, I guess I'm out of touch, Chris. I don't mind. I don't mind.
Well, I think you play it down a bit when you say, you know, other people have had it worse. Yeah, they have, but you've done your bit, and I think people should spread this work around. You know, you're gonna, you know this. You'll struggle to get someone employ you. You know, if you
I am unemployable. I work for myself. I'm not. I will never have a proper job, so to speak.
Yeah, me neither. I can't get a job because straight away, internet, what? Grooming teenage narcissists? Yeah, next. But I'm a lot older. You know, I've got a business. It's hanging on by the skin of its teeth at the moment, but so's a lot of businesses. You know, but spread the fucking work around a bit. You know, I'm 53, well, 52. You do it. You do it. You see what it's like to wake up and have emails from people calling your names every day. I wake up still sometimes. I'm not moaning, but I'll just give you an idea of what it's like. Dawn, I've seen that super chat and I will do that, but I'll keep it on the QT. I will wake up sometimes and someone's decided it'll be hilarious to sign me up for loads of Muslim dating sites and like some really weird shit. And, you know, it's not that much hassle. Delete. But, you know, there's people out there just doing that sort of stuff. Mate, like, you know, my videos don't take a lot of time to make because they're usually live or they're very short, and it's just my videos are just me doing a live but without an audience. But, you know, when Dan makes a video that takes 3 weeks to make an edit and YouTube saying no, Dan has to just go, okay. How long were you doing it for, Dan? How long was the Iconoclast a thing?
About 3 years, not that long.
And you produced the magazine that was very successful,
which I've seen has been have you seen what's it called? People in the chat. There's a magazine that Sargon's behind now, and his crowd. They've started their own print magazine, the Lotus Eaters. But
they would have called it that. Maybe they called it that.
No, it's called something else, but I can't remember the name right now.
Someone in the chat will know.
Someone in the chat will know. But so loads of people tagged me in that. The Islander magazine, yeah. And it's the exact same concept that I did in 2017. You know, it's exact. I'm not bitter about it. I didn't invent the magazine format, obviously. But it's just funny, you know. It's funny, like, oh, yeah, we did that kind of thing. We did it.
And that isn't easy, people, to organise all the contributors, get them paid, get their
and good luck to them, by the way. Good luck to them. Great.
Yeah, get it. No, but I'm talking about you. Get it edited, get it distributed. That in itself is a business. On top of his demonetized YouTube channel. Think about that. You know. And then you've got people going, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing anything? It's like, why aren't you?
I remember when I first started the magazine, it was in 2017, which was less than a year when I
Good
started my
girl,
channel.
Glass.
And what I had to do, because the magazine, the printing company that I was using, and keep in mind, I designed basically everything myself. I'd never done anything like that before. I'm not a graphic designer, can't do anything like that. I learned how to do it. The printing company had to be paid up front before I could get everything printed. So I had to pre-sell everything for like a month beforehand before I could actually put the order in for the magazines to get printed. And it was a lot of money at the time. And all the profits went into the next one and the next one. It was proper guerrilla business type of thing, especially back then when it's not very politically correct, clearly not. And I was expecting the printing company to be like, hang on a second, what is this? Why are we printing this for you? But they were pretty good about it, actually. But right now, it must be easier. It must be more accessible. I noticed that the Islander is selling for about 15 quid. I sold mine for $6.99, but that's neither here nor there. But, you know, good luck to them.
But that inflation probably account for about 4 quid of that, you know.
Well, exactly. Inflation is a thing, yeah.
Then I think we were on this channel. I think you hopped on once, or we set one up like this, and someone found was it 4 or 5 editions of the Iconoclast on the Oxfam online market.
Yeah. Someone bought them very quickly, by the way.
I think it went before the end of the stream. I think when we looked at the end, out of stock. Amazing.
There must be loads of them out there. I think at my parents' garage, I think I've got quite a few lying around. I might throw them on eBay.
You could probably flog. Yeah, get them on eBay. I would.
It's funny. It's funny though, because especially the early ones, I would never say that stuff now. I've moved on. My opinions aren't in line with that anymore.
Yeah,
it seems so very Civnat lame shit from my eyes right now. But yeah, like I said before, it was of a time and it was really fun. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about business and money, especially. And it's an education that you couldn't get sitting behind a desk at a university. That's for sure. Yeah.
I just don't. I really think people who don't do it don't realise what a drain it is. They think, he's absolutely living it up here. Look, he's got a very successful channel, and everyone wants to get him on and all that. And it's like 5 years later, you're like, whoa. I mean, look at Barkley. Barkley's like 20. He ain't ever getting a job. He's never getting a job.
It's a good job that he's very good looking, so that'll help him through.
He's a handsome lad.
He's a handsome lad, charismatic, intelligent. He'll be all right.
He's got some of my nice suits. I'll give him a load of my suits.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Devastated. I gave Harry some as well, and Harry's just disappeared. He's gone completely AWOL. Now, I am a bit pissed about that, but I also understand why he has, because I can't say a lot, but Barkley isn't having a great time at the moment for certain reasons. And I think Harry realised it would be him next, and he's just gone AWOL. And, he's a young kid. He must be terrified. He must be terrified.
Well, at least he's ripped, isn't he? he's in great shape. Yeah.
When he come round my house, him and Barkley, and I'll give them suits out. I'll give Barkley a $2,500 pair of Foster & Sons handmade boots. They were my favourite boots, man. But out here, and because of my aging, your feet swell up in the heat, and they were a little bit tight anyway because you break into them. But I'll give him to Barkley. I'll give him my first suit I ever had made that has got real Dangerfield blood on it, which is, I think, quite disgusting. But he keeps sending me pictures of him with that suit and those boots on. I think, you lucky bastard. $4,000 that suit cost. I was rich then.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from? Savile Row?
No, because Savile Row tend to be brokers. And they go to tailors and they just stick their kicker on the price. I knew the tailors that Savile Row used, so I go straight to them. I had a bloke who made all my trousers, a woman who made all my waistcoats, a bloke that made all my jackets, another woman who sewed all my buttonholes. It takes a lot longer and it's a lot of fucking about, but that suit that that Barclay's got. It's beautiful, man. Holland and sherry cloth. 5 yards of that, which is a 3-piece suit, alone will cost you 800. The broker's going to double that, so you're paying 1,600 for the cloth. Yeah, it's like, really, that's a $7,000 suit, but I paid about 3,800 for it. But I was getting a suit made like that every month. Sorry, and I was talking to Dan about this the other week. This was in my 30s when my business, the internet. There was still a massive barrier to entry for e-commerce. The pound against the dollar was lovely for the pound, and I just had a load of money. And I think now, if I knew about long-term investing now, if I knew that then, and I was just talking to Dan about this the other day, I could have invested that money rather than walking around Soho looking like a ponce all day. I could have invested that money, retired at 40 and been a full-time writer, which is the dream. And I think about that sometimes and think, you really fucked that up, man. However, I know about 5 or 6 other people who are in the same position as me, in their 30s, were making an absolute fortune, and they spunked the lot. And in truth, if I could go back and do it again, I'd do exactly what I'd done again, because I had 20 years living in Soho, not giving a shit about, not needing to care about money. I could ring up a prostitute, and I'm talking like top quality, £1,500 an hour. Say, can you bring a friend? Yeah, lovely. Saturday night, 200 quid's worth of crack. That's not the prostitutes, by the way. That's free-base cocaine. And just have a lovely, lovely time in my $4,000 suit as well, of course. And
which now Barclay is wearing, that has your blood on, so that's great.
The blood.
Story behind it.
I'd have loads of silver bullion and that on the table, and these brass would be like, "What's that?" I go, "Silver bullion."
By the way, you're an interesting character because you're an anomaly, because my best friend, he likes you. He watches your stuff sometimes. And I was chatting to him the other day, and I said, I'm going to be streaming with Chris sometime this week. And we were just chatting about you. And you've been an addict. You've been rich. Those things shouldn't go together, usually. Do you know what I mean?
They're not a good thing to go together either.
Exactly. They're dangerous together. But you've managed to do it, and we were talking. You are just a guy who, I don't want to say lands on his feet, but you kind of pull things together against all the odds. And do you think money has influenced you? Do you think money has changed you as a person? Have you learned a lot about yourself because you've had money and not had money? I know it comes and goes, but you've done very well.
We were shit poor as kids, I had one bath a week, I had one school shirt a week. We were poor kids, we were working class poor kids. So when I got rich, and I was rich when I came out of rehab, and it was the first rehab I ever paid for, so it wasn't an NHS, it's a whisper away from being in prison, an NHS rehab. But when I paid for one, when I come out, there was like just short of $500,000 in my bank. And I was like, wow, because I'd got staff. I'd just said, will you look after my new business while I'm away? And they were like, yeah. And because I wasn't buying crack and heroin all day and entertaining ladies of the night for days on end. Oh, God, man, some of the amazing things that happened.
You delegated everything. It was great.
That's essential, really, because I was doing everything. And then when I come out of rehab, I said, well, do you want to keep these jobs? Because it seems to be going all right. And then that allows me to scale the business and do the job of a CEO. I think, hang on, I want to get this right. I have been terribly unhappy and very rich. Right? Money will not make you happy, but it does make it it takes away a lot of the fundamental. Having money, like I did back then, takes away a lot of the fundamental problems of life. You know, I never went on holiday. When all my mates in their 20s were going to Thailand and, going on holiday, I didn't. I was going to Abbey Wood to buy heroin, and like I was shoplifting, and they'd come back and tell me all these amazing stories. And I didn't do all that. And then suddenly to be able to just one day go, I'm going to Thailand tomorrow for 11 weeks, and just book a plug, get a flight, fuck off to Thailand and come back. And then 2 weeks later go, it was better in Thailand, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And so I had sort of 20 years of like really enjoying my life because of that money. Now, it's not like that now. I live in a country where it's very cheap to live, so it's sort of balanced itself out. But the market's changed a lot. There's a lot of things going on. I'm having to work more than I ever have. Back then, there were times when I could not work for 2 or 3 months. I've lost my business twice. I had to move all the stock into my flat in Soho and think, well, you can't afford to live in Soho anymore. $2,500 a month rent for a bed sit.
Jesus.
How are you going to pay for your habit as well? So it's back to mum's then, and then rocky training montage. No, I'm going to make it work. Sell all the stock at like half price. No customer service, writing it all down in pen and paper because I didn't know how to use a spreadsheet because I used to have staff do all that. Built the business up again, rehired all the staff. That's happened twice. I'm glad I've taken risks in life. Thank you for that one, Anglo. And there's another one from Anglo here. I managed to get a job offer after 4 years for racially aggravated GBH. It's who you know. Barks will be okay if he's a network. That's a good call, Anglo. That's a good call. Yeah, I did. I was a bit absolutist with that. So fair enough. Thanks for those donations as well, Anglo. You're very generous. Brad says, I plan to use academia. The university is 1,000 years old and many degrees are still worth it. Those disciplines are worth saving. Agreed. The STEM fields for sure. But even if you study in STEM fields, you have to do critical race theory. You have to do this. You have to do those courses. It's part of the deal. I'm not quite sure what you say when you mean I plan to use academia. What you mean as some kind of activism? If the right could take the universities back, we'd have it sorted within half a generation. But universities don't work like that. The kids that get the good grades are the ones who repeat back to the tutors what the tutors have said to them. And they're the ones who end up becoming the next teachers, because that's deliberately how it works. I've said it so many times in the last few weeks. You need to create the necessary ideological and social relations to replace yourself. And that's what it does. And people like me who went, hang on a minute, that don't make sense. We're not here to criticize it. You're here to learn about communism. Oh, okay. That isn't what I thought university would be about, to be honest with you.
University is very corrupt. I worked in a university maybe over a decade ago, and it's very corrupt. It's rigged. And
they're all leftists. There's no right-wing teachers. That was my experience.
The thing, so I've got a few things to say. I don't want to reveal. Well, who gives a fuck? I'll tell it. So I've got a qualification that allows me to teach English to foreigners, right? And I got this years and years and years ago. And I ended up working for a company that was partnered with a university. They had their own campus, and basically what you would do is during the summer, you would teach mainly Chinese and Arabic students basic levels of English so they could pass an English exam so they could go on to a university to get a degree in engineering or whatever they wanted to study. Now, there's a lot of, like I said, Arabic students, lots of Saudis, lots of Kuwaitis, and the like. They were all terrible. They couldn't speak a lick of English. They couldn't pass an exam to save their lives. It was ridiculous. And when we were marking their exam papers, basically 99% of our Q80 students failed outright and failed very, very badly. The Q80 embassy got in touch with this organization and said, if you don't pass our students, we're not sending you anymore next year.
There you go. And
they're worth, each student is worth over 20 grand a year. And suddenly, overnight, I'm not marking the papers anymore. That's external. Wow. That's been sent to an independent body. And they all seem to pass. And they all get to stay in the country. And they all get to go and study whatever they want to study. Yeah, fuck academia.
And you've got all the other affirmative action that comes before and after that artificially elevates people.
Of course.
Wow, but I've never heard it that blatant. When I was lecturing at an art school, I was teaching psychoanalysis. I failed everyone. I failed the whole 40 students.
That's great.
I said, you're all lazy. I said, none of you read anything. I'll give you a reading list. None of you read it. I said, I know it by your crappy essays. I said, you want to be artists, you've got to know this stuff. You might not have to believe it, but you know, psychoanalysis is fundamental to modernism. And modernism is quite important to art. And you can ponce around in your stupid clothes and pretend you're an artist. But I'll tell you now, none of you are going to get anywhere because you're lazy. You think Tracy Emin's doesn't know about Freud. You're stupid. I know her. She does.
On the subject of money, I think we should wrap this up soon because I need to go see my parents. But the reason I asked you the question about money and how it impacted your life is because I think you learn a lot about yourself when your financial circumstances change. And one thing I learned during the cryptocurrency bull run of a few years ago, which I know I've already turned off half the chat already. Half of them, oh God. But here's the thing. Here's the lowdown of it. I learned a lot about myself. That's the point. So 2019, I'm just getting into crypto. I'm learning about it. I'm investing bits of money here and there. I think over the course of that year, I must have invested about 10 grand of savings that I had built up. That 10 grand in the early parts of 2021 was worth £190,000, right? Now, you would think that that's an incredible thing. And, sell it, Dan, sell it. You've done it. You've made it. I didn't sell it. Why? Because I didn't realize I was a greedy person. And greed at that time was something that I was infected with, I suppose. And of course, there's influencers out there saying it's going higher, it's going higher, it's going higher. I sold some of it, not enough. Of course, it dipped down, crashed through the floor, over. So my point is, when your financial circumstances change, you can learn a lot about yourself. I'm glad it happened, actually. Much like what you were saying, you wouldn't change anything. Because let's just say that I had sold it all and I turned 10 grand to nearly 200 grand. I think that might have ruined me, you know? And maybe that's a cope, Chris. I'm fully admitting maybe this is a cope. But at the same time, imagine that.
Look at all the...
You sat on your ass for a year and you made all this money doing no work, no graft, no effort. You've made it. You're the king. You know everything. It might have actually been the worst thing in the world. First
response to that is look at all the lottery winners who end up in prison or dead.
They lose it all. They lose it all.
Plenty of them. That woman, the first one in the 60s, spend, and it all went.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, just quickly, what were you saying? I realized that I would have given up all that money to have had a few books published, because that's what makes me happy. When people say to me, that's a good story, that's a good bit of writing, you know, when my girlfriend tells me she loves me, that makes me feel good. When she does something that shows me she loves me, that's really important to me.
Which makes
having all that money. What did I actually do with that money? I went out sex tourist into Thailand, which actually distanced me from people. Now, I had some real laughs, But I nearly ended up in the fucking Bangkok Hilton more times than not, and only by luck did I get away with it. I had to fucking swim through rivers and things to avoid the Thai police, and it's all fun and games at the time. But you ever seen the inside of a Thai prison?
I've heard the stories, yes.
Like here, right. So I've mentioned on this channel countless times a book by Felix Dennis. He was one of England's richest people for a long time.
How to Get Rich.
Publishing. Maxim, I think, was one of his. Stuff was certainly one of his. The gadget magazine. Kind of pre-internet, really. And his book, How to Get Rich, I got it. When I set up my business, I had a company doing print on demand for a book I wrote about lockpicking, and the bloke who owned that print on demand company also done my SEO and done a few other things for me. And he said, listen, read this book. It's called How to Get Rich. I was like, oh, come on. He says, there's no graphs in it. There's no fucking algorithms. There's none of that. It's like written like a novel. He said, you'll do it in an afternoon. And I read it. My business went from like a couple of £100 a day turnover to $5,000 turnover in about 4 or 5 months. It's not profit, but that ain't bad revenue when it's just you on your own.
Yeah.
And so Felix Dennis, he was still smoking crack in his 70s, if I remember rightly, still getting like 5 whores round for the weekend in his 70s. And, he'd talk about this in interviews in The Guardian to piss him off and that, and he said the same joke that, what's the Irish footballer, played for Man U, the drinker.
George Best.
Yeah, George Best said it. Sebastian Halsey said it. Felix Dennis said it. There's different variations of it, but I spent all my money on women and cars, and the rest I just frittered away. And Sebastian's was I spent all my money on whores and drugs, and the rest I just wasted. And Felix Dennis said a similar thing with crack and whores. So anyway, I read Felix Dennis's book, and it opens. He says, "I'm sitting in my chateau, overlooking the bay that I own off the southern tip of Monaco, or it's one of these most expensive places in the world. I've got a bottle of Chateau Lafite, blah blah, one of the most expensive bottles of wine in the world." And he's talking about he's got his Sea Island fucking $2,000 handmade shirt on, and that later that day he's going to a supermodels party, and he says something like, which tend to go on for a few days, and that's at so and so's redacted house, and blah blah blah. So he sets this sort of the scene of when you've got loads of money, you get the best of everything. What is in a culture of things, what's considered the best of everything. And then he tells you how to get rich, and he's right. It worked. I've done what he said. And it's simple things like when you set up your company, ask friends to help you. Just ask them to help you. So you've got no money to give them, but if you're enthusiastic and if you're making something happen, friends will help you. And I had that. I had friends. I had one mate. He's still one of my best mates. I'd ring him up 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll go, I've got an ounce of Northern Lights. Can you come round? I want to put some products on the website. And he'd be like, oh, fucking hell, mate. And I go, that ounce won't be there in the morning. And 5 minutes later, his car would pull up. And, other people, like I had a bloke who wrote these books about picking mortise locks, lever locks. And I've sold probably 40,000 copies of them at 60 quid a go. He wrote those books. And I said, can I sell them in my shop? He was like, yeah, sure. I said, what do you want? A percentage or a one-off payment? He said, I don't want anything. All right. All right. So, I had a lot of that. Felix Dennis talks about that. Delegation. The thing that you think you're needed most for in your business, that needs delegating. Because if you think you're the only person that can do that, you can never sell your business. because you're needed, and you're going to be taking your time up on that, whereas you really should be scaling your business, which is what the boss does, making contacts, networking, like Anglo said, etc., etc., etc. You get to the end of the book. There's even bits in it where he says, if I was broke and I wanted to make some money, I'd go to, he says, look, I'm just picking this out of the air. He says, I'd go to Spain or Catalonia or somewhere. I'd find a little village that's all traditional. I'd find a little brewery where they just made beer for the locals, and I'd brand it, and then I'd get investment, and then I'd turn it into, you know, the town will be called something like, I don't know, El Scafare or whatever, you know. And then I'd call the beer El Scavare, and then I'd have a picture of the fucking like 900-year-old brewery on the bottle, and just use the people of the village to sell the fucking beer. You know, look at Sol. Sol just brought out another regular beer, put a bit of lime in the top, and it just, everyone was drinking Sol in the late 80s because, I know you put a bit of lime in the top. You can't actually get any booze out while it's in there, but you know, it's different. And he just says, you know, he says a basic rule: if you want to make money, look around, see what's working, and just copy it, but do it better. And that's exactly what I've done. And then at the end of so you've read all this, you're totally convinced, you're loving it. And then the last chapter, he says, right, so I've told you. And there's also another bit in it where he says, look, he says, most people don't want to get rich. Most people are workers because our society has trained them to be workers. They went to state comps. He said they train them to be workers. At Eton, they train them to be the leaders of nations. But state comps, they're trained to be workers. They don't teach them about investing. They don't teach them about setting up companies, about being entrepreneurs. Like he said, they're doing that at Eton when they're like 15, 14, etc., etc. Last chapter in the book, he says, so let's go back to me at my, I'm on a speedboat. I've got these supermodels. There's a quadruple bed downstairs in the galley or whatever it's called. And he says, and now here I am at 60 odd, or whenever he wrote that book. He said, by the way, this bloke was the bloke that got taken to court in the 60s he was a hippie. He had hair down to his waist, little John Lennon round glasses, and they had a magazine called Oz. I think one of them, it might even be Felix Dennis, was originally from Australia. And it was like just a little a zine, they were called in those days. And one month they'd done the school kids issue, and because a lot of school kids read this magazine Oz because it was funny, they said, you send us whatever you want, we'll put it in the next edition. And you can imagine like 14-year-old boys and that were sending in Rupert the Cock. Not Rupert the Bear, Rupert the Cock. They got actual Rupert the Bear comics out of whatever newspaper it was in. Left it exactly the same, but changed what they were saying. But Rupert had a massive cock. That was it.
Of course.
Yeah, the kids are just funny. And that went to court. And Felix Dennis defended himself, and they got away with it. He said, this isn't obscene. He said, you know, who are you protecting? The kids that drew this stuff or me? And so it was quite a big trial, actually, because it was kind of the end of the what do they call it? Obscenity trials. You know, British juries stopped, you know, even with porn and all that. It was like, we're not, people just got bored of banning things for being obscene because it felt like it was medieval to say you can't show boobs, you know, it's stupid. So he's quite a weird character. Like most hippies, ended up minted. And then he says,
ironic, yes, very ironic.
And predictable.
Yeah. When
I lived on a New Age Travellers site down in Devon, every single one of the other travellers came from money. All of them.
Yeah. Jeremy Corbyn is old money as well.
There you go. And, you know, it's easy to turn on, tune in and drop out when you can run back to mummy and daddy's castle and get another trust fund sorted out.
You can say what you want. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
But I in this last chapter in the book, he talks about all that, how good it is to have all that money and influence. He says, if I had the choice of doing it all again, he said, I wouldn't bother. And it really hit me, man. It really hit me. He said, some days I have to have meetings with directors of companies I own, and these companies only exist to look after my money. That's it. That's what they do. And it's like, it's been a waste of a life in many respects. It's a weird ending to a book, huh?
I understand that. I do own that book on your recommendation. I think you must get a $5 in the mail every time you mention Felix Dennis in that book, Chris.
But I think if you're a young man, you want to get rich, that book's got everything you need in it.
I haven't finished it, but it is really funny. He's a very charismatic guy in the way he writes, and I'm enjoying it immensely. By the way, this is distracting me in the chat. Billy Blogs is saying that you need to read his Entropies.
Yes, I'm on it right now. Anglo says, bear in mind we're listening to an ex-dreadlocked comedy.
There you go. There you go. The truth is right in front of you.
Right. Let me do the super chats just quickly. Blog said, did you read the... Right, let's go. Ollie London might be a good one to chat about. He exposed the other group, like the straight white men who like dressing up when the wife is out. Trans race causes an intersexual Marxist logic. BSOD. I don't know what that means, but okay, nice one.
Can we ask ChatGPT what that means?
You can.
Just put it in there.
No, because it's got so many things in it that are going to fuck the ChatGPT profile up. I never actually thanked Pavlovsky for that Ayrton Senna, but I will now. He only said hello, so there wasn't a lot to get into there. But thank you, Bill, and thank you, Pavlovsky. Bill drops another one. Did you read the one about Ollie London? Yeah, just then. Off. Full stop. Did you know he's a writer? 100% free. And then he's linked to my Substack. Or less offensive, Lumi's kids' stories for adults. There's a running joke on here. Illuminatus, he's a good writer, actually, but he writes like fantasy novels, so I just dig him out because I say he writes for children. But he was one of the funniest guests. He come on here pissed one night, and he was so funny. The whole chat was just he was so funny. And he's a good bloke. I do hope he takes it. No, I know he does. He takes it in good humour. I've commented on his writing plenty of times. Nice one, Bill. I'll have a look into Ollie London. That's much appreciated. Right, a couple more super chats over here. We done Brad's ones. Anglo said 100 foul is a lot of money to me. That's approximately I spent on Charlie over 10 years. Serious question, how much you spunked on Class A's? Millions. And I know that. Literally millions. Me and my missus were doing an ounce of crack between us a day. It gets a bit complicated because there's cost price and sale price. So, but I bought Bitcoin at $70 as an investment.
Oh, fuck you.
Then I started, but then I started buying heroin and crack with it.
Right. Cancel it out, of course.
Yeah. And then when you look at when it went up to like 60 foul, I was like, you've literally spunked. Like,
how did you get into lock picking? That seems like an odd business.
Let me finish these off just quickly. Brad James drops in £2. Wasn't Boz Dickens' pen name? I don't know a lot about Charles Dickens. Don Browning drops an Ayrton Senna. Billy Blogs I don't know what IDGAS means. About your niggling or Chris talking over Dan's birthday. Dawn, I already said I've got that racked up, but I'll keep it on the QT. But now you've exposed it and Dan knows it's coming. So, dang.
Look, I'll never escape that fucking intro.
I know, but I wanted to drop it on you, and now she knows. Do
you know what I was thinking, right? So because I got my X account back, out of nowhere, people are saying, "Oh, do this, talk about this." I was thinking of re-editing my intro to be more current. So the old one has Merkel in. She's nowhere to be found anymore. and who else? Well, Putin is still relevant, I suppose. Actually, there's not much to re-edit. I replace Merkel with someone else. Yeah, that's it. Never mind. Scrap that.
What? And every time someone hassles you to make content, just send them your intro.
Yeah, so there you go. That's a new intro. Get fucked. You know, all of that. Oh, well.
Right. Right, Dan, fair play. At 45 minutes ago, you said we'll do 20 minutes. So we will have to wrap this up. Blogs, thank you for the entropies. Thank everyone for the super chats. If I've missed any, let me know, because I will have a look at those. Nothing came through on the QR code, but that's expected. It's a bit weird going to another platform. But if you want to check out my writing, top link in the description. Substack is free. Thank people for coming on. Dan, thank you for coming on. I might see if I can get Dan on again, because I've got loads of people telling me that Andrew Tate is based as fuck and I should stop slagging him off. And I nearly bought it until 42 explained something. And me and Dan watched a video of his on Odyssey, Rumble, the other day. That looked like the first half of it looked like, wow, yeah, actually, this bloke's quite base and he's going to quite sort something out. And by the end of it, me and Dan agreed that it was just a very clever bit of marketing to get loads of young kids who are totally disillusioned to part with £49. And it was, I felt quite disgusted by the end of it, really. I thought, you cheeky cunt. And he covered his back all the way. He it was just... Dan, do you know? I mean, this is a bit boring for everyone else, but did anything happen with Daddy Coin?
Yeah, it's technically up, but it's not doing anything crazy.
Yeah, he's not taking over crypto. He doesn't even know how it works. He just sold a load more courses. He probably made $5 million from that stream.
Of course, yeah, of course. His entire thing is just get people to sign up to his courses in his school or whatever it is. It's a Discord channel, isn't it?
Did you see him saying, I don't care about money, I'm bored with money, I burnt 37 million?
Right.
Why do you keep selling more?
But all that money wasn't his to begin with. It was just given to him, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a marketing tool. The whole conversion to Islam was a marketing tool.
I also think it was something to do with keeping him safe in prison, perhaps.
Yes, that's a very good point, actually. Very good point. Because there was a point in time where it looked like he would be extradited to the UK and face charges here. And we all know the British prison system is basically controlled by Islamists. So that would have been beneficial for him. But that's a story for another time. Yeah. that's a rabbit hole for another time.
I found it very unsavory, to say the least, and I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. Sorry, I'm just not going to get into that. Right, I'm going to play a bit of music. Dan, thanks for coming on. Always appreciate it. It's been great talking to you in the week. Don't forget, if you see any shit coins that are looking good,
I'll let you know. Well, to be fair, all right. So we won't get. Maybe I'll come on in a few days' time. We'll talk about this. So. Just briefly for the people in the chat, Chris and I have been entering the crypto casino this week. And Chris, like I said earlier in this stream, he's a contradiction. He's landing on his feet every single time. He doesn't know anything about these coins. We say, I'll put some money in that. Wakes up the next day, that's a nice $3,000 profit, cash out.
That ain't been $3,000.
Well, okay, you've done well out of it.
But
me, on the other hand, I'm in the more dangerous stuff. I'm in the things that are most definitely scams at rug pulls. But
why would you do that? Though?
Because that's where the opportunity, Chris. That's where the opportunities are. It goes up after 10 minutes. You get out, and then you might make some money. I haven't been very successful so far. However, the outlay is much smaller, so I'm happy to lose it and learn. There you go. There's a philosophy for you. But I can come on in the next couple of days, man.
Hang on, it's the weekend. I've got to write, but maybe a week or two we do it. Or
just let me know.
Yeah, it'd be lovely. We should do a stream about Andrew Tate, because I think he's pulling the wool over too many people's eyes now. Not that we'll have much effect, but I do love my community.
Well, is it? We can talk about him, but isn't that a year? Isn't so last year, Andrew Tate?
No,
I don't know.
think so, because
do you think he's regaining relevance? And
I've got people who regularly watch my streams sending me his videos every day saying, look, you're wrong. Look, watch this at this point. Look at it at this, giving me timestamps. And I care about my community. We're like 9 years old and you're not even 9. I doubt it will do much in the grand scheme of things, but what we watched the other night was disgraceful.
Yes, it was. It really
was. And the thing is, though, he's very entertaining. Him and Tristan together are very entertaining. Just do that. Just
look, I think the flaws are there for everyone to see. I like Tristan a lot as a guy. I think he's really intelligent. Have you ever heard him talk about history? He's a big history buff. He can just rattle off things about history, and I really enjoy that. But yes, they are expert marketers, and they're there to make money, and they're doing it. That's the way it is.
But as 42 said, and it's the same as what he said with Jordan Peterson, these people are standing in the way of the people who should actually be listening to these people who might actually be able to help their life, rather than sell them a load of shit you can get on the internet for nothing anyway. And anyway, right, let's wrap this up.
But before we go, Black Pigeon Pilled in the chat said Tate leapfrogged on Peterson's popularity, and I will give him credit for that, because Jordan Peterson is a crybaby who sits with his legs crossed all the time, and I'm fucking over it. I'm done.
42 fully changed my mind on Peterson. It blew my mind as well. And there's a lot of very shady things going on in Peterson's drug treatment. And if you're talking about helping people, anyway, look, we're just going to keep going. I want to do some writing.
But we'll wrap it up.
People, please look out for my new Substack. You're going to love it. It's a Christmas story. Like I said, it's a bit bleak, but there you go. I will put some music on. I will put your chats on the screen. Hello, John. John's coming on next week, people. Hopefully next week for a whole hour. It'll probably be longer than that. We're going to talk about growing up. It's going to be the Estuary Boys stream. He's a good lad. He's a much loved bloke amongst the scrubs. So don't miss that one. I'll give you a couple of days' notice. Not you, John. Obviously, you'll know well before that. But
by the way, that profile picture from John Palmer right there, he can confirm or deny, but it looks like it was made on thispersondoesnotexist.com.
No, that's John. That's John.
Is that actually John Palmer?
Yeah.
Right. Well, you could pass as an AI fake person any day of the week.
He gets the ladies going when he comes on with his accent. Yeah. He does well. When I was talking to him about the stream and that, I said, we talk about your upbringing. We've got a lot in common. We talk about your time in the Navy and all that. He said, He said, the only thing I don't want to talk about is the he said, because I hurt women in my, he didn't hurt women, but he hurt women he loved, if you know what I mean. Sure. And I don't know why I just said that. I've just outed him. I hope his missus ain't watching. No, it was a nice thing for him to say, because he said he didn't want to hurt someone who'd suffered in the past. But he's a great lad, so look out for that one, people. He's much loved around here. Did I fuck that up, John? Did I really screw it? Brad wants to know our opinion on Solana.
Solana? Do you mean Solana?
Is that an altcoin or something? I don't know. Do you mean Solana?
I think it means.
I don't know
Solana.
anything about it. It's just gambling to me, Brad.
Well, that is the particular crypto casino that I'm engaged in right now. The Solana meme coins.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
It's
Brad bats to the other side, Dan, and he said, "I prefer Tristan for reasons."
For reasons.
Fair play, Brad. Right, Dan, I'll let you go. But you know what music I'm going to play anyway. It's the extended version that someone put on.
I think you're missing one more super chat from Anglo-Saxon. That's the last one.
Anglo is so generous and kind. He's keeping me above water.
Again, I'm seeing not a penny of it.
I'll tell you what. If I do well on some altcoins this week, Dan, we'll.
Oh yeah, I'll give you my wallet address. Go on.
I have tipped you on pretty much every altcoin I've bought. I've tipped you on it.
Yeah, after you've already made a fucking killing on it.
Killing is a bit.
After you've already sold out. Come on. You don't tell me when you're getting in.
And then I send him the picture of it going,
For people in the chat, right? Chris and I talk all the time over WhatsApp, and Chris can't, for some reason, he doesn't text. He just sends voice notes that last 6 minutes, right? And in the middle of these voice notes, you just hear him go, "Oh, sorry, just gonna sell that there. Oh, that's 600 quid profit."
He's not lying either.
It's like, can you tip me off for this? Come on, please. No, fine.
That's happened on more than one time.
Mate, it's every single voice.
Yeah, but the last 2 weeks, I was trying to raise money to pay for my sister's dying sister. That's why.
Yes. Well,
really. That's true. Yeah. And so that's why I went all in over the last 2 weeks. But I'm talking to Dan. We're just chatting about anything. And then I literally just go, "Oh, hang on a minute. I've got to get this. Hang on. Got it. Sweet." And now
I think, you know what the most insulting thing was? You sent me a message and you said, "Dan, how is it possible to even lose on these things?" I've just been winning all the time. And I'm like, fucking hell. Come on, that just explains everything, doesn't it?
I might do a stream about them though, because the psychology is so simple.
I tell you, mate, you should live trade on stream. You should show everything you're doing. Seriously, do it.
That might be quite interesting.
And I'll just copy trade you because you seem to win every single time.
Inevitably, though, that'll be the ones where I start losing.
Yes. But we can make the scrubs rich. Come on.
I already tried to do that with long-term index investing, and about 50 of them have signed up. And I'll tell you what, if they've kept their money in them, they'll be laughing now because it's, with Nvidia taking the S&P and all that tech stocks taking the S&P 500.
Palantir, yes.
Yeah, good times to be long-term index investing.
Anyway, I will leave you. I need to go to my parents' house. They've got birthday cards for me. Hopefully there's a few tenors in there because I fucking need them. I'll tell you that. After this week, so
the meme coins,
the Solana meme coins have wrecked me. Don't worry about it. Okay,
I'll tell you, get on Binance. Whatever that fucking
get on, Chris. I've been on Binance for 6 years. That's not where the gems are. Come on, you've got to get in early.
Okay. Dan, It's been an absolute pleasure. Can we have a D in the chat for Dan, please? Look after yourself, mate. I've no doubt I'll send you a 6-minute voice message. So
yes, give me some tips before you buy this time, please.
Yeah, but you have to be fucking quick. Okay, if I tell you, I'll lose it. Do you know? All right, I'll see what I can do.
Right,
Dan, happy birthday, mate. We've been friends now for a long time. A lot of people from back then I haven't kept in contact with. You're one of the few I have, so bless you. It's a pleasure to have you in my life, and happy birthday. Have a good one with your family.
Thank you. You're making me tear up. Thank you all very much.
True though, man.
Cheerio.
As you get older, you lose people. They disappear. And people who hang around, there's value there. So it's much appreciated.
Well, I'll tell you what, Chris, if I die before you, then something's gone very wrong. So.
Fucking hell. Well, before you go, Anglo did ask a question. I once asked how you'd feel if your daughter brought Tate home. You said you'd look at the Bugatti. I have 3 daughters. You wouldn't think that. No, fair play. Fair play.
Yeah.
And I have changed my mind. Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't. If they brought him home, I'd be like, well, if you want to fuck him because you find him attractive, do it. But then go and find someone who actually loves you because it's more important than money. And it really is. It really is. Good call, Anglo. from someone who's got 3 daughters, yeah, how can I talk? How can I really talk about that? I haven't got a daughter. Dan, look after yourself. Happy birthday, mate.
Cheers. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. God bless.
You know what? It's such a pleasure talking to Dan. He was exaggerating a bit there, but that was funny. I do go, hang on, mate, I'm just selling. Here's a bit of music. We all know and love it. It's the Iconoclast theme tune. Don't forget, please check out my Substack. It's not for everyone, thankfully, because things that are for everyone are really for no one. It's quite grotty in places. It's unpleasant. It's a lot of it. I don't think there's a single story where you'll go, oh, that was nice. And I just don't write like that. But I've got a novel coming out, hopefully this year, that I've been working on for 7 years. So if you want to get a taste of it, link in the description. I'd really appreciate it, because as a writer, just people reading it is these days is a pleasure when you're competing with a completely artificial traditional publishing system where anyone can have a New York Times bestseller. It's not even based on sales. There's been books on the New York Times bestseller list that have sold less than 30 books. Anyway, I want to thank Dan, first of all, for coming on for nearly 4 hours. I want to thank everyone who donated. It's really appreciated. I'm actually getting up to maybe being able to get this fucking art surgery done. I'm not putting that on you. That's not what I mean, but it's good for me with a bit of fucking gambling on altcoins and a very generous community here. Much appreciated. Apologies for the stream the other night. I shouldn't have streamed. I should know more than to stream when I'm in that kind of mood. I don't know if Lee James is watching this, but you are unbanned. If you're watching it not live, you're unbanned. Anyway, here's Dan's bit of music. And thank you to everyone else who come in, joined in, asked questions, said things, and all the usual sort of stuff. I will be putting your comments on the screen. Here we go. Let's see if I can sort this out. Have a wonderful weekend, people, by the way. I'm so glad it's Friday. Work's been a mare this week. Here we go. The extended version of Dan's theme tune. Oh, get my boat race off the screen. Bosh. Ta-da! People saying send him the message when you buy. It's not that simple. You literally look. I've only been doing it a couple of weeks, and it's just about psychology. It's human psychology. You watch who's buying. You can I use Binance. I could do it. It might be illegal though. There might be something about encouraging gambling, and I want to protect this channel because we've built a good community here. But what I would suggest, if you really look, I'm not a professional financial advisor. This is entertainment only. Sign up to Binance, and then just spend a few weeks watching new coins. So when a new token, which is a coin, I don't even know what they're called. So when a new one comes up, watch. So it usually goes green straight up. So that's the liquidity. Whoever set that coin up has put 50 mil, so they can afford to dish out 50 mil. So people buy that 50 mil worth of coins, and then it goes down, and then it will spike, and then people will sell because they bought in the dip, and now they're up a few quid, and it usually is a few quid. Some of these coins, like when Dan says I'm $3,000 up, like some of them are like 0.00034 of a pence. And if you buy 100 quid's worth of those and it trebles, you've made about 30 quid. But you get used to human psychology, and you see how many people are buying and how many people are selling down in the bottom right. And you get used to the patterns. Now, you can't predict it always, but you can sort of get kind of used to it, you know, and sometimes I'm literally sitting here. Now I convert Bitcoin into the shitcoin, altcoin, shitcoin, meme coin, whatever you want to call it. Dan told me they were called shitcoins. I thought they were called altcoins, but I'll still call them altcoins. It sounds a bit nicer, doesn't it? Sometimes I'm sitting here just refresh, and I've got a number in my head. And when it goes to that, because you don't pay any fees when you convert from Bitcoin to the altcoin, refresh. And I'm thinking, when that goes to 0.026, I'm going to buy it. And I've already put in how much Bitcoin, usually like 0.003, which is, well, when I was doing it, it was about 200 quid. Refresh. When it hits that 26, buy, bosh. And if you leave that 1 second longer, that can half in price. So I haven't got time to get onto WhatsApp and go, Dan. But in fairness, and Dan will admit this on another stream, when I've seen a coin that's peaked and troughed, but in an upward direction, and I've bought in the dip, sold at the peak, bought the next dip, sold in the peak, I've said to Dan, Constitution DAO coin's got legs, Gilco's got legs, and a few others. And I've bought the dip, sold there, and then you start learning, okay, this has been a week now. The next dip is going to be on a trend going down. There are still peaks, and you just get out then. It ain't a science, though. It's gambling. Do you really want me to encourage you to gamble? Imagine I come on here and said, you know, get your money down the local working man's bar and stick it in the fruit machine. They, by law, a fruit machine's got to pay out 73% of every pound that goes in it. I know people who go and sit in working man's clubs and arcades, keeping an eye on machines. They've got a presser in their pocket, and every time that bloke puts a quid in that machine, they get a press on it, and they're counting how much has gone in it. And when that bloke runs out of money and walks off, they're straight over there because they know by law, within a certain amount of pounds, that's got to pay out. And if I said to you, think about doing that, you'd probably be like, not your best financial advice. My best financial advice would be not to buy a house, to rent a property, and long-term index fund investing. It's a piece of piss. There's so much information about it on the internet as well. loads of really good channels, and it's been proven historically. You know, it's better for younger people because you ideally want 15 years in the market. You can't time the market, but you can have time in the market. That's it. But having said that, you can get lucky with 5 years. I mean, look at Nvidia at the moment. Nvidia is now bigger than Apple. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm just warbling now. I can't believe I've finished a stream. Baz, I always say I won't. I always say I'm into club football, but I will. I do like those days when there's 4 or 5 games on. England's got a team that could win the Euros, but they've got a manager that doesn't seem to get it out of them. I'm not ending the stream with footy. I want to thank Dan again for coming on. Enjoy your weekend, people. Money ain't going to make you happy, but take risks. Try and get some independence. And live your life, because if you do it all right, if you do it well, one's plenty. Bless this stream. I love you people. Look after yourselves. My missus is still in the province, obviously, because of the sister's situation. If I get time over the weekend, I'll try and stream again. John, I'm sorry if I fucked up then what I said. I do apologise if I got you in any trouble. But John's going to come on at some point. 42 is going to come on at some point. I've got some other guests lined up as well. I'm going to see if Devon wants to come on. But if you want to know, if you want to know about long-term index investing, write to me. I've got like a fact sheet that it's sort of hypnotizer. It's just nonsense. I just added to it so many times. But I know that Scrubs have been making money out of it because they've told me. I don't really want to go. I love talking to you lot. I'm going to finish this short story. Please look out for it. And if you do read it and if you do like it, leave a comment. It helps me so much. It's like a like on a YouTube video. And if you could like this, that would be great. Go on. That's all. I've got to go. Hoi!